I called out my niece's fiance's rude attitude. She said, we're playing the victim.
Pick a card, any card. You picked the victim card.
Girlfriend posting here. This is going to be a bit long, so I apologize, but my boyfriend and I really need some outside thoughts on this situation. I, female 22, and my boyfriend, male 23, recently have been having issues with my niece's fiancé. So is that like your nephew-in-law? It all started on the day before Thanksgiving when bringing the turkey to their place since we were going to eat there on Thanksgiving. By the way, this comes from user Kai Elijah on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, for some context, we don't have a kitchen easily accessible at the moment, so my niece offers their place up for us to cook, and we always clean up after ourselves. This wasn't our first time over while cooking either. We've been over a handful of times, whether that's to cook or to just hang out. My niece's fiance is distant and doesn't really talk to my boyfriend and I all that much whenever we go over. That's just how she is. However, she constantly makes conversation with us about how she feels like everyone hates her and is out to get her, along with openly talking about how she can't eat things because of her eating disorder. This isn't diagnosed, but this becomes relevant later. But also talks about how she only eats certain things. Anyways, we're bringing the turkey, and as soon as my niece's fiancé comes out of the room, she says in a cold tone, "Are you guys enjoying making a mess out of my kitchen?"
You're making a mess out of my kitchen.
To which I reply coldly as well, "Yeah, but you act like we don't clean up after ourselves." She then goes quiet, and her and my niece leave to go shopping for stuff, and that's the end of that. We felt a little off about the situation, but haven't had enough interactions to know when we should bring it up to her, as she always stays away from us whenever we go over. Fast forward to the 5th of this month, and we all hang out, and my niece's fiance brings up all her issues that she's having with getting diagnosed for everything she thinks she has, in which she tells us her therapist won't let her see someone to get diagnosed until she's sober from the devil's lettuce until February of next year, which is hard, but she goes on to say that it's addictive, and I tried explaining it's not and that people can form an emotional dependence on it, but that's just it. You're wrong.
Who's wrong? OP wrong?
Yeah, OP's wrong. You can. It's different for everybody.
It is different for everyone.
Yeah, that's an absurd thing to kind of say, but I digress. We then get news that she's going to hang out with one of her friends/coworkers across town, and we're invited last minute at 7 p.m. and didn't know when we were going to be back home. We were promised a ride home after the hangout, and we were okay with that. We all go to the hangout, and my niece's fiance and her friend/coworker go off on their own, while my niece, boyfriend, and I go our own separate ways. My niece then gets a text from her fiance asking if I can drive us home because she was going to smoke with her friend/coworker. Of course, I don't want to say no and leave us all stranded, as my boyfriend doesn't have a valid state driver's license and neither does my niece. So I say yes, even though my boyfriend and I planned on having a ride home. We don't have a car at the moment, so this was really important to us that we had a ride home. I end up driving us all home around 10 or 11 p.m., and luckily my mom picked my boyfriend and I up. That's the end of that. My boyfriend and I came home a little uneasy about the whole thing, as we felt a little disrespected that it was put on me to drive us home because she wanted to just do her own thing.
Nah, I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah, she hit you with the disrespectful Miles Morales. A couple days after, she posts something on her Instagram that's funny and basically implies that her stomach hurts, to which I reply, "It's because all you eat is cheesy roll-ups, mac and cheese, and pizza." Trying to make a funny joke, of course, to which she replies, "I'd really appreciate if you didn't joke about my ED. I spent my whole life being bullied for it. It's a touchy subject."
I feel like this is just a very big miscommunication thing.
Yeah, that just sounded like it whiffed on both parties. Now, mind you, almost every conversation we've had with her, she's brought up her ED in one way or another, and I thought it was okay to just talk about the foods that she ate. I don't think that I brought up her ED in that, but she thought otherwise. I then replied with, "Didn't realize it would strike a nerve. I apologize and won't make jokes. I'd appreciate it if you didn't also make comments about it as much to my boyfriend and I as well then." It makes it seem like it's easy to talk about. I'm sorry I got the wrong message. You're also not the only one who has struggled with an ED, so please be mindful. She never replied after that, but told my niece about the whole situation. She then thought that my boyfriend and I were posting indirectly at her and had my niece text my boyfriend about it and essentially schedule a phone call to talk about it. That's not exhausting.
Ugh. Yeah.
We wait a couple hours and get no call, to which I text her and ask if we're going to call, and she says she was just overthinking about the whole thing. I then tell her that I needed to get some things off of my chest about her fiancé and said that if her fiancé would like to listen, she can, because it's about her, and my niece agrees, and so does her fiancé. My niece says she'll listen, and so will her fiancé. Though I wanted a conversation to get some input, they both decided that listening was the best choice. We call, and I start off by apologizing for not bringing this stuff up sooner because I know it sucks dwelling on the past, but mentioned that I didn't know how to go about having the conversation and am profusely apologizing for it. I talk about how my boyfriend and I feel unwelcome due to the snide comment the day before Thanksgiving, as it wasn't the first one that happened, and it was just overall rude and disrespectful. We've hand cleaned all the dishes we've used, even though they have a dishwasher, and put everything away as it was before, so we weren't understanding where that comment came from. My niece is just listening, and I assumed her fiancé too. I then go on to talk about the ride situation from the 5th and how that was also a little rude and kind of out of nowhere to rely on me for a ride without having a plan for my boyfriend and I to get home safe. After my spiel, I say, and my last thing, and my niece's fiancé screams, "Oh my God, is she done playing the victim?" To which I say, okay, making this quick, and talk about how I didn't bring up her ED and only the food she ate, which, yes, go hand in hand, but the words ED never appeared in the first message I sent. But, by the way, you can send us a first message, a second message, 100 messages every weekday at 3 p.m. PST when we go live on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch. All you got to do is tap our profile on any one of those platforms, and you're in the live.
Easy.
You could even go check if we're live right now, but I suggest you wait until the end of the story.
We probably are.
This is, it's always tricky when somebody has, clearly they have an eating disorder. They have something that's they're very real things.
And you want to be respectful
Mm-hmm.
to the highest degree. But when it's like this, it's just like, it's kind of like walking on eggshells.
It is exactly like that. And I might catch flack.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say walking on eggshells because they might bring up something.
Exactly. I might catch
Sorry,
flack.
the OP. I'm not OP. The niece.
Huh?
Never mind.
Okay. So she then starts screaming at me over the phone about how I'm bringing up stuff from the past and I don't get to do that and she's not dealing with it, which in turn has my niece tell me she's going to go and say she loves me, and that's the end of the phone call. So am I the a-hole for saying any of this? I'm sorry this is long, but my boyfriend and I need some advice. Thank you for reading. Have a great day. No, you're not really the a-hole for bringing it up. She's the a-hole for immediately shutting down and saying that you don't get to talk about the past, which is like, I don't know what kind of privilege that is.
Like,
Future privilege?
This has been on my chest, and like this has been on my mind. I'm allowed to talk about it. Don't tell me what I can't not talk about.
It just that seems like such a cop out.
I don't think anyone here is really like a true a-hole, to be honest.
I feel like if it's anybody, it's the fiance.
I think so too, because he's like, I don't want to listen to this. This is like, and like kind of like making things worse.
It's funny because it was the fiance who was like, are they going to be done playing the victim? But she played the victim right there by literally, I don't know what the implication is, but she's like, you don't get to talk about the past. As in like, I don't know. What is the implication? Is the implication that it's like, my past is so much worse than your past, you don't even have the right to talk about the past?
The fact that like the fiance's not giving a chance for letting them like to actually speak, speak and like communicate, hey, I want to get things off my chest. I want to clear the air. I just want to let things be known because, I feel like there is awkwardness and there's tension and this is not good for us. And it's just like, she's playing the victim card. It's like, no, she's trying to clear the air and not like.
Yeah, she's literally like she's doing her best to have a mature adult conversation that is clear and straightforward. without anything getting mixed up or mixed signals.
And guess
but
what?
I think the niece or the niece's fiance just wants to play victim.
I think it's just they're like again, it's just they wanted to nudge back or nudge harder, of just nudging back and forth, and
Yeah, I don't know.
you keep nudging each other, someone's gonna fall off real hard or hurt themselves.
Well, that is the end of that story, though. My brother-in-law confessed his feelings to me after I went dress shopping with his fiance.
Ay, ay, ay. That makes me think of that one audio. It's like, you're in love with my brother-in-law? The one in the army? No. Your brother-in-law. What? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
Oh,
but I like that. I want to see it now. I have been with my husband for 5 years. We've been married for 2. Since early on in the relationship, we've been great friends with his older brother, partially because I always wanted one. By the way, this comes from user NoPoet4293, and you can submit your stories on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. When he started dating a girl about 2 years ago, I went out of my way to make sure she knew she had a friend in me if she wanted, since we're the only girls in the family. We're great friends now, and since they got engaged 3 months ago, I've been helping with wedding planning and was asked to be a bridesmaid.
Ooh.
Okay.
Slay.
You've got a friend in me type vibes. Let's keep going. We went dress shopping today and had a blast. We went to brunch, had some mimosas, found the dress, and went back to their house to celebrate. I ended up alone in the kitchen with my brother-in-law a bit after being there, and he said he just had to tell me something before it kept eating at him. I was a little buzzed and confused, but was not at all expecting him to say what he did. Quote, I think I've had feelings for you for a few years, and I've never been able to tell you, and just needed to know if you've ever felt the same. I completely froze and just shook my head. I told him, no, I have never thought about him in any way other than a friend and a brother, and I never would. Before he said anything else, I bolted back to his fiancé and the other girls there, and very discreetly told her I got my period and wasn't feeling well and would have someone come get me and then come by soon for more wedding planning. She thought nothing of it, and I called my best friend to come get me. She dropped me off at home. My husband's working right now, and there is no question that I'm going to tell him as soon as he gets home, but I just have no idea where to go from there. Do I tell his fiance? Do I make him tell her? Do I leave it? Do I have my husband talk to him? Has anyone ever had something like this happen or have any advice? Anything is appreciated.
I think you gotta tell the fiance, or at least you tell him, you say, hey, you made me very uncomfortable. You should talk to your fiance because I don't want to be a part of this.
Thanks to everyone who helped calm my panicked mind after my original post. I didn't want to tell my husband we need to talk while he was still at work and make him panic, so having some reassurance from here was really helpful. I also noticed a lot of people asking for an update, so here is one that even I was shocked by as I lived it. It's not exactly the earth-shattering blow-up most people thought it would be. My husband came home and he immediately knew I had something on my mind. I explained the whole thing and he was livid at his brother. Thankfully, he gave me a hug and I broke down crying from the stress. He assured me I did everything right and it wasn't my fault. After that, he went to call his brother and tell him that he knew what happened and wanted to talk to him one-on-one. Turns out that his brother and fiance were already on their way to our house to talk about it. As soon as the other girls left, not long after me, my brother-in-law confessed everything to her.
Ouchie.
Wow.
But did he confess the truth?
I mean, I would assume. Maybe not.
And you know what they say
It would
about
be
assuming.
so crazy to tell the wife something different, and
Maybe
then now that you're going over to their house to set things straight, and you'll have the other person who was across from you to be like, that's not what he said. So
And then it's he said, she said.
So as soon as the other girls left, my brother-in-law confessed everything to her. First, she slapped him. Deserved.
Whoa,
But
drama.
after they talked and he promised her that his feelings for her were genuine, she said that he needed to apologize to me and his brother, and then they could go from there.
What?
So they came over and he and my husband went and talked while I talked with his fiance. We both cried and talked for about an hour. I promised her I never had any feelings for him and had no idea he ever had any for me. Apparently she had caught him gazing at me on a family vacation once.
Not gazing.
Not the gaze. Jay-Z. She thought maybe he had some attraction to me. So while this did she felt some relief that she wasn't crazy for thinking it. He admitted she was right and thinks his feelings at one point were out of jealousy that his younger brother was further in life than him, and he attributed that to me in a way. This was new to him as the older brother, and they really hadn't compared each other much growing up, just because they had vastly different paths. It was like apples and oranges. But now there was some perceived competition on a similar playing field. The feelings had faded, but when she came home saying she found a dress, he felt an urge to come clean and wished that he had said it differently or worked through it with some help before to actually understand what the feelings were instead of making this whole mess. I don't know about all that, but I guess I could understand it with a more clear head. I mean, if the Oedipus complex can be a thing, then I can see him having some complex feelings that manifested as attraction, but didn't affect his love for his fiancé. This all happened in one night, and he was visibly distressed over it, so I'd find it hard to believe he could weave a whole story like that. So I'm inclined to believe him. I mean, we got complicated monkey brains, guys. Like,
Some people have room in their hearts for multiple people.
Yeah, I think this could be just a thing where he's like, should I say this? And it was clearly just like, nope, don't say that. Never say that. Don't say that out loud. Don't do that. But I mean, I guess getting closure for wherever it did come from.
Yeah.
The real
I just don't know
root
if I
of
would
the
be as
problem.
forgiving if I were the fiance. Like, I would be like, at least I would be like, hey, we should postpone this marriage. Not necessarily break up. But, like, I think you should always go into a marriage being, like, fully committed and fully sure.
Yeah. Once my husband and his brother came back to the living room, my brother-in-law looked like a puppy who just got in trouble. Also looked a little roughed up, but I didn't question it.
Ooh.
We all talked, and he apologized to me for putting me in this position. Where it landed, their wedding is on hold privately.
Good.
While they figure out next steps. Thankfully, there was nothing booked and no dates sent out.
Good.
We had gone wedding dress shopping just to get an idea, and it was just luck that she fell in love with a dress. They're going to go to couples therapy to decide if and how they can move past this.
Okay, they literally took our exact...
Hey, look at us being professional advice givers over here.
Someone hire us.
Come on, it's like we should get paid to do this.
Someone should give us a certification.
Imagine we did get certified.
Yeah.
Whoa. So there is clear love between the two of them. Things will be tense, but I think he feels genuine remorse, and my potential sister-in-law says she holds no ill will against me, and if they move forward, she'd still love to have me as a bridesmaid if I'm willing. My husband and his brother have some serious work to do on their relationship, and my friendship with my brother-in-law will never be the same again.
No.
But we'll see what happens from here. We've also agreed to keep this between the four of us, but they will be honest that they're doing some premarital counseling before setting dates or full-on planning. I saw a lot of comments telling me to keep my mouth shut and that no harm was done. While I guess I can see your point, I just couldn't imagine keeping something like this from my husband, especially if it came out later and he found out I withheld it. Trust is huge in our partnership, and even just omission feels like a betrayal of that. Sure, I knew this could blow up if I let it out, but it still would be my brother-in-law's fault, not mine. He had all control over telling me what he did. Thanks to everyone who helped me through that scary processing time alone. And we have a second update. I wanted to address a couple common responses I've been seeing here and give another next day update. To everyone telling me not to tell anyone or give him a mulligan, that was never an option to me. My husband and I are a team, and we don't keep secrets, only surprises. And
What's
a
a
mulligan is like do-over or like a gimme.
What does
It's
that
like
come
a
from?
mulligan. It comes from golf. It's like a mulligan is
I
like you
don't
have like
play
a
golf.
you have like a terrible shot in golf, and it's just you take that as a mulligan. My husband and I are a team, and we don't keep secrets, only surprises. It's something we agreed on before getting married. If I didn't tell him and it came out later, it's as good as me lying to his face. I did nothing wrong, and I know my husband would stand by me, so that just wasn't an option I was willing to consider. To all the claims that I'd be blowing up multiple families, I'm not the one who confessed feelings. He opened this can of worms, and it's not my responsibility to keep his secret. If this does blow up his relationship or his family, that is all on him, not me.
And I feel like there's a lot of times there's kind of blame put on women for feelings that like other people feel for them. Like when men have feelings for women, it's like, oh, like what did you do to lead him on? And so I feel like a lot of those comments are probably
Oh, yeah.
saying
Sorry,
something
I
wrong.
existed.
Yeah, it's like, sorry, I'm just hot and I'm talking. What do you want?
Oh, I smiled at somebody. Now they think I'm in love with them. There were a lot of other common themes in here, but those two were very prevalent and I wanted to dispel them. So, on to the small update. My husband actually called his brother today and asked if he wanted to go to one of their favorite bars to watch the game together. Something pretty common for them, or all four of us, to do before all of this happened. My brother-in-law was shocked, but agreed. Shortly after, his fiancé called me and asked if she could come over while they were gone. She was honest and said it might be awkward, but we would do this a lot together and either do some DIY projects or get a puzzle out or watch movies together. She wanted to see if I'd be open to keeping this up as long as we were both comfortable with it while they work things out, so our relationship doesn't just deteriorate. It meant the world to me, and I said, of course, which this is like the healthiest way I feel like they could possibly be going about this.
They're sorting this out really well.
Very, very well.
Like, I'm impressed.
Yes.
Because they took all of our advice.
See what happens when you listen to us?
Why wouldn't it work?
Don't you see what I do? You see what happens when you listen to us?
Don't you understand?
Now give me $1,000 million.
Listen to us.
All four of us agreed that they, the brother-in-law and fiance, would start seeing a couples therapist ASAP, and my brother-in-law would see one on his own. Until they get a better grasp on what his feelings were/are and their own plan, we won't get together, the four of us, and brother-in-law and I will not be together alone. My potential sister-in-law is one of the most level-headed people I've ever met and so kind-hearted. My brother-in-law used to have a lot of walls up that she broke down pretty naturally, and this is so out of character for him. His proposal to her was so well planned and thoughtful and tailored to her down to the smallest detail. He picked her a new outfit, had the perfect ring, even the blanket at the setting was her favorite color, a detail he did intentionally, and he had even arranged to have her parents there who live hours away. It's clear that he loves her, and I truly don't think that even if I did say yes, he would not leave her to be with me. There's a double negative there, and I don't think it was on purpose.
No.
I think what she's saying is that even if she reflected, said,
Yeah.
I did have feelings for you, she's saying that he
wouldn't
would
have
not
left.
have left.
Yeah.
He was just like, I don't know, just like
temporary
he word vomited
insanity.
this. He was just like, oh, I used to love you, I think, for years.
Yeah, I mean, there is a kind of thing that happens sometimes when you are about to make a big life change or a big decision like marriage, where you kind of second guess yourself. It's like, everyone talks about the
heebie-jeebies, the cold feet.
The cold feet, yeah, and it could be something like that. What doesn't mean it's not serious, and I'm glad that they're taking it seriously.
Mm-hmm. Not that it would have been an option. Ooh, and by the way, it's always an option for you to listen to full episodes.
Like that.
With stories like the full episodes with stories like these. You can listen to them whenever you want. Just go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts from and search OK Storytime.
Search it up.
That's all you got to do. Just one search and then bing, bang, boom. You can go through the whole backlog.
And you're freaking done.
Yeah. I truly do see a road forward for them and all of us. We're all committed to finding the best outcome for everyone involved. My marriage is solid, and we have our marriage maintenance couples therapy appointment coming up soon anyway. So we'll check in with an outside opinion, but I'm not worried. They are going to consult with a therapist at the same practice in just a couple days. It obviously won't be a quick and smooth fix, as this was effed up, but I'm much more optimistic than many comments here and wanted to share. And that's the end of that story, and thank you for sharing.
I dropped out of my brother's wedding party because he and his fiance disrespected me. I am at a total loss and looking for some outside opinion. That's us, outside opinion. Please bear with me because it's an extremely long story over the course of many years, but I need to know if I'm in the wrong here. You gotta go into like the births to understand this story. It all started when my 29 female brother, Tim, 25 male, went to college and met Brad, 27 male. When they met, Tim was 18 and Brad was 20. They were both in the university's band, and they ended up having a lot in common and getting along well. By the way, this comes from Rogue Carl, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OKStorytime subreddit. So by the end of fall semester, they were officially boyfriends, and our family met Brad shortly after. I also want to emphasize that Tim being gay has zero impact on any of our feelings about the situation. Just want to clarify, since some people are hella and might assume. Oh, he's like, I'm not. He just. Anyway, Brad seemed great, and most importantly, he made Tim happy. Late in spring semester, Tim had a pretty bad falling out with his roommates and his college friend group. Apparently, one of Tim's roommates had asked him to not have Brad in the room every night, and Tim got pretty hostile in response. And Brad continued to go to their tiny dorm room every night. Classic college. I know these types. I've witnessed these types. This led to Tim being essentially dropped as a friend by his roommates and the rest of their friend group. The next event is the catalyst that set us on the path to where we are now. Tim is in his year 4 of his 6-year program, and he's struggling being in such a difficult program. His fall semester grades now depend on how well he does in his finals. November 2021, Brad asks my mom to lunch and says he has something really important to tell her. Ooh. I let her know it sounds like he wants to propose, and she laughs it off because Tim is deep in the weeds of his education and has a couple more years of hard work to go and really can't afford a distraction. Well, as I predicted, Brad tells my mom he has a ring and he intends to propose. He has a plan. He and Tim will go for a weekend away with Brad's family. Turns out he's planning the getaway for the weekend before Tim's finals. He also tells my mom that the proposal is a secret and we cannot mention it to Tim. My mom is completely shocked and doesn't know how to react in the moment. We later both separately text Brad expressing our concerns that Tim should finish school before getting engaged so he can really enjoy every part of the wedding process. We even very subtly asked him at Thanksgiving what he would think about getting engaged at this point in his life. And he states there is a girl in his program who is engaged and he thinks it's insane. Get Brad over here. Get him on the phone. Just record that. However, Tim goes away for the weekend. Tim fails his finals and then has to repeat an entire semester. I'd be freaking pissed at Brad.
So did he actually propose?
He must have. I think that's what it's implying. Yeah. After Christmas, Brad and Tim walk through the door with champagne and inform my parents they're engaged. My mom is shocked considering Tim's response about getting engaged. She does not react well, and Tim is deeply hurt by this. I attempt to smooth everything over by being excited for the two of them. I am my brother's biggest cheerleader and I love him very much. I support him no matter how I feel about his decision. After about a year, I tell Tim and Brad I would love to throw them an engagement party once Tim graduates to kick off wedding planning and really celebrate them. I do love to host parties, so this was my way of wanting to show my support. I tell them I'm thinking next spring since it's currently summer and Tim will not graduate until December. When I say this, they're shocked at the suggested date, saying it's so far in the future. I'm confused by this, since Tim is still a full-time student without an income. I am still not sure how he will pay for any wedding expenses, but we move on. Meanwhile, my parents have one request for Tim, that he waits until my wedding is over to start having his own wedding events. He agrees and says he would never do such a thing. Some background, I am 4 years older than Tim and also have a long-term partner. I finished college the year before he started college, and I had been many years into the workforce but when I got engaged. There is no form of sibling rivalry due to our age gap, and Tim and I have a great relationship. The next wedding update we get from them is telling us they are throwing an engagement party 4 weeks before my wedding. Why? That's so messed up. Come on. I just don't understand because it's like 1 month. You can't wait 1 month? Seriously?
Literally.
I am confused why they would do this, but mostly disappointed they picked a date that I couldn't attend since it was so close to my wedding and we were very busy with wedding planning of our own. Tim and Brad assured me they completely understood why I can't make it and it's okay with them. My parents are very annoyed since Tim promised them he wouldn't plan any wedding events until my wedding was over. Like, how can you be this just rude and like inconsiderate?
Especially since she was so excited about like doing that party for them.
He wanted to help out.
And they're like, actually, thank you for offering, but you actually can't.
You can't even come, actually. Thanksgiving 2023 comes around. I do not remember the specifics of how we arrived at the discussion. I think I was again trying to ask questions to be supportive. Tim and Brad drop a bit of a bomb on us. They inform us at the dinner table they have booked a wedding venue, and they toured the venue and booked it months ago, in August 2023. What? They have also booked vendors such as catering, etc. My parents and I are shocked. We have not been told any of this. They made this wedding plans months ago and kept it a secret. At this point, I have asked for updates many times. This has definitely rocked our family. We try to talk it out once again, but we cannot seem to see eye to eye. We try to move on and continue being supportive. The good news is Tim has finally graduated from his university program. Okay, there we go, something. He had to do an additional semester due to the fail finals incident mentioned previously, but we were all ecstatic he had graduated and can finally focus on things other than schoolwork. And most excitingly, he can get a full-time job and finally have an income to do fun stuff like travel, etc. In January 2024, Tim texts me and my parents to tell us he wants to get together soon as he has some exciting news to share. We assume he's finally gotten a job. It turns out Tim's good news was not a job. In fact, at this point, he doesn't seem very interested in finding a job.
Uh-oh.
Tim's big news is asking me to be his maid of honor. That's pretty big news.
I was so scared that they were going to like elope or something. I would be so sad.
I am honored despite all that has happened because I love my brother and I am so excited to stand up with him on his wedding day. I am determined to make an impact on his wedding experience by making it special for him. He is very passive and I'm nervous at this point that he's being agreeable, and it seems most of their ideas have come from Brad. Now that I have officially been asked to be involved, I want to ensure Tim feels as special as his partner. Brad also has a sister named Kim, and he has chosen her as his maid of honor. They also will be having a large wedding party, though they clarify only myself and Brad's sister will stand up for the ceremony. I do notice that every person in the wedding party is Brad's friend, who Tim later became friends with. In hindsight, this is because Brad had isolated Tim from any friends he had.
No.
That was clear from the beginning of the friends being like, hey, you're having Brad over a lot. Just like if we could have some boundaries. Brad was probably like, that's ridiculous that they would ask you that.
Yeah.
I once again worry about Tim having enough support. It is then decided that Brad's sister, Kim, will plan the bachelor party while I plan the wedding shower. I believe this was decided because I originally offered to throw them an engagement party, and I am happy to throw the shower. Over the next 6 months, I asked them several times for any requests or specific requirements for the shower, and they have vague answers every time. I do not get a clear answer from them until August 2024. This is where everything falls apart. It's not already falling apart? This is just the beginning? Dang, man. August 2024. Tim and Brad have just moved into Brad's childhood home together. This is another story entirely. They invite my parents, my husband, and I over for a housewarming type dinner. Everything goes well. And before we leave, I bring up the shower planning since it really needs to be decided soon. I have a few ideas in my mind and plan to host at my house and order catering. I can't really afford to book out a venue and catering is a little costly, but I'm happy to do it. For reference, my house is about 20 minutes from Brad's hometown where they now live. Tim and Brad then inform me that I need to invite every single person on their wedding guest list to the shower, 80 people.
Oh, wow.
And that the shower must be held at a venue in Brad's hometown.
Oh, gosh.
Honestly, I am completely shocked at this because I have been asking for details for months and they have yet to mention this. I am so shocked when they tell me this that I don't have much of a response in the moment. I tell them that I cannot afford to host 80 people at a venue, so we will definitely need to discuss further and find a way to compromise. When I am finally able to sort out my feelings about this, I feel hurt that my idea was not good enough for them, confused why they would wait so long to tell me, used as they think I should spend so much money on what is essentially a second wedding. I finally decide on a compromise. I text Tim, Brad, and Kim my proposal. I propose we throw 2 wedding showers, one for Tim's side and one for Brad's side. I say I will host Tim's shower at my house as planned, and then Brad has the freedom to plan his shower exactly as he wants it, since I cannot afford what he wants. In fact, this is what happened for my wedding, since my in-laws are a few hours away, and it worked out perfectly. I use this as an example. Brad says no. He insists on one shower, as he has outlined it. He says it's very important to get our families together before the wedding. I am confused by this because they've been dating for years and the parents have met several times. I let him know I still cannot afford what he wants, so to let me know what him and his family plan. A few days later, Kim sends me a long text. First, she implies I've been stressing out Tim and Brad. She talks about how important it is to throw them the shower they deserve and how they deserve the best. Then you do it, Kim. You freaking do it. Easy. OP said very clearly, I can throw you guys an engagement shower, but it can't be the one that you want because I can't afford that. I simply don't have the money for that.
I think that's perfectly reasonable. If you're offering to pay or offering to like host a whole party, you can't just be like, okay, great. Can we like triple that amount? Like, that's crazy.
She says she is happy to reach out to some venues and set things up, and that her family is happy to pay for it all if the cost is the issue. Her text is condescending and pushy. At this point, I'm not even sure why I was asked to throw the shower in the first place. I was told my idea was not acceptable and that I did not need to plan or pay. So why did they even ask me? I reply to Kim, letting her know I'm not sure we are seeing the same situation here. I tell her some details of the situation that she may not have been told, which is how the whole wedding was planned in secret, and Tim is still unemployed without an income and has a significant student loan debt. So we're concerned about him far beyond planning an elaborate shower. I also tell her I would feel very uncomfortable not following the societal etiquette of throwing a wedding shower. For example, it's inappropriate to invite someone you know cannot attend because they will feel obligated to send a gift. I also express my confusion on why it is crucial for me to plan a massive event for this wedding shower when my family was disregarded during the entire wedding planning process. I tell her I love my brother and want to support him, but I will not be pushed around.
There you go.
Nice, OP. Stand up for yourself.
Boom.
I dropped out of my brother's wedding party because he and his fiance disrespected me. Kim replies with yet another condescending message, disagreeing with everything I've said. Apparently, it's very normal to throw an 80-person wedding shower in their world. Her response suggests she completely disregarded every single concern I raised. She asks if I still want to help plan the shower, even though she has taken full control and disrespected me thoroughly. I also text Tim, just needing to express how I am feeling about all of this. I explain why I have made the decisions I have, how all of this has made me feel, and why their request is not what is considered normal for a wedding shower. Perhaps my text was snappy and a little bee, but I was at my wit's end with this situation. I start to feel like I am going crazy. They are completely insistent that this is normal. None of this seems normal to me, especially considering I had gone through the wedding planning process myself the previous year. And pausing a little bit before we get into the rest. Any thoughts? Because a lot is going on here.
I'm not a fan of Brad here because that's classic signs of toxic.
Yeah, well, he's trying to isolate Tim from both his friends and now his family, like making them seem like the bad guy because they can't afford to help them throw a wedding shower.
And then just putting it on him and being like, well, you're stressing us now because you can't do this.
He's probably telling Tim like, wow, like your family won't do this for you. That's toxic of that. And then he's roping Kim into this. She's probably cut from the same cloth as Brad. And now she's like being all rude and stuff. And Opie's just trying to be there for her brother, who is not being considerate of any of this. What do you do? Or do you think that OP's kind of done everything that she can at this moment?
Maybe you can try to like talk to Tim in person alone with Tim and be like, hey, what's going on? Because all of this stuff is happening over text, which is like fine. But also there is a level of like, there's some things you just can't quite talk about the same way over text. And so just talking about any of this in person would be so much better.
And also there's no like guarantee that the person has read the text or will respond to the text. And also things can be misinterpreted over text.
Things can be like discussed between them before they even get back to you. And then it's like, wait, that's not what I'm talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So maybe like OP would text Tim and then Tim goes and talks to Brad and he's like, oh, I can't believe that.
I can't believe they're saying it this way.
Yeah. So I think just having all of these conversations in person, I think maybe OP's just like, oh, I don't want to stress him out, but it'll just make it worse if you don't have that conversation.
Yeah, they're going to be stressed out anyway. I hate to break it to you.
But there is more. Then comes the final nail in the coffin of this entire story. Kim sent our private text to her brother, despite implying that I was stressing them out. I guess causing drama isn't the same. The combination of that plus the text I sent Tim sent him over the edge. Tim writes me a scathing multi-page letter. His letter picked apart my text message to him line by line and refuted every claim I made. He starts it up by saying I clearly have a multitude of pent-up feelings about this. I'm confused because I've expressed my feelings many times, so I'm not sure how they're pent up. It seems he might be projecting, as he never expresses his feelings. His letter took my text word for word and disputed every claim. It almost read like a legal document, which is why just have these conversations in person. Any type of serious conversation should not be had over text.
I just know Brad is behind all this. He's the one picking apart these texts and being like, and what does she really mean by that? And it's just like, she's not trying anything malicious, Brad.
Some of his statements were, All wedding guests should be invited to the wedding shower so they can make their own decision to come or not. I planned the wedding shower with 0 of their desires included. I asked them many times for requests. Exact cost of how much money I could have saved by using Kim or Brad's restaurant connections to book the venue. Why was I asked to plan the event? Our family's feelings have been hurt despite Brad's family doing their absolute best to appease us at every turn. And we have in turn slandered all their efforts. Brad's family has made no effort to understand our point of view or communicate any details on any front. That they told me I should have attended their engagement party for 30 minutes to say hi. They never once said this to me, and it was an hour drive each way. And OP had a wedding in less than a month. OP had a wedding less than a month and said, hey, I'm not going to be able to come to this because you freaking scheduled it less than a month from my wedding, even though you promised you wouldn't.
Right.
Tim continues, I could have asked about wedding planning at any point and they would have told me. I asked about it every time I saw them. Brad is the only reason they still have a positive relationship with my family. Brad is the reason for all of this conflict, and this was very hurtful to me and my family. Having me as his maid of honor brings him despair. This broke my heart. My actions have shown no attempt at support or indication of love. I have tried to support my brother at every turn. I have been passive aggressive throughout the entire situation and never expressed my feelings. I have expressed my feelings at every opportunity. My family shows nothing but disinterest in his future, while Brad's family shows nothing but support and hope. My family has only ever wanted the best for Tim, and this was just beyond hurtful and insulting to our family who have been always so supportive. Tim and Brad are very direct people and wish we had shared our feelings. This is just incorrect. Not sure why they feel this way, but they are not direct. He also responded to one of my concerns about his status. He has a doctorate degree and now works a very menial part-time job that he does not enjoy, earning a few $100s a month. Their focus as a couple has been projects for Brad's house he owns, selling Brad's house, and moving. Brad also bought their new home, taking big vacations with Brad's family, and planning this big wedding. Tim's response is that they both had agreed that he'd do the housekeeping. They do not plan on having children. So he's just gonna clean the house. Why did you get a degree?
He wanted the degree. Brad didn't want him to get the degree. Brad didn't care about the degree because he was like, oh, sorry. You can fail all your finals so that we can get engaged. That's totally fine.
No, it's so clear that Brad is very manipulative because the fact that Tim is willing to throw away the 6 years that it took him to get this degree to be a house cleaner. This isn't a stay-at-home dad. This is a guy that's going to be at home occasionally cleaning. If there's 2 people at home, you don't have to spend all day cleaning. But you know what you guys should spend all day doing? Listening to full episodes with stories like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app and search up OK Storytime.
Just great.
And there is a little bit left, but do you have any final thoughts on this?
I'm just so sad for the situation because that kind of stuff is so hard to deal with because it's you really, as an observer of this, you really don't have that much control. And I don't know, abusive relationships are just hard in general. The fact that this has gone towards marriage is even harder to get yourself out of. It's just sad and it's upsetting. Has OP offered to just not do it anymore? Or is that what stressed them out?
I think OP was this is what I can do. Otherwise, you guys will have to kind of figure it out. They're oh, yeah, of course you can't do it. You don't love us.
Just get Tim alone. Talk to Tim alone in person, please. There's really no other way that those things end.
Everything that OP says or OP's family say to Tim, he's going to take back to Brad. And he's freaking report back to him and be this is what they said. And then Brad's going to be blah, 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 blah. They hate you. Blah, 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 blah. They're toxic.
Absolutely.
But there is a little bit left to this story. This letter was the grand finale of a wedding planning process that was not collaborative in any way. Even though I was asked to be the maid of honor, it was a litany of all that my family has done wrong and all that Brad and Tim have done right. Not only was there no room for discussion, it was explicitly said that this was the only time I will say any of this. Brad's sister said she would throw the wedding shower and invite everyone, whether I was involved or not. At this point, I gave up and said I was bowing out of this. I sent Tim a short text in response to the letter, expressing my heartbreak, and there has been no communication since. So, am I the a-hole? No.
No.
The only thing that I would have said, which we said before, is should have gone in person and had that conversation. I think just going forward, any type of conversation that is this kind of deep and big topics needs to be had in person so that there's no miscommunication and that Tim can't go and show it to Brad.
Right. Because I think there's so many people, or there's so many things in conversation, especially in conflicts like this, where it's like you can kind of tell like what someone means by it with their tone or context or whatever, but then people like that, they'll really pick it all apart and like see each little detail and then try to spin it in some way and on claiming it's some sort of like literal sense. And it's like, well, hang on, that's simply not how humans talk, simply not how it works. So yeah, definitely not the a-hole.
No, not the a-hole. I think all you can do is kind of express like, hey, I love you. This is a lot and I can't be at your wedding, but like whenever you need me, I will be here. And like your family who loves you will be here. This has been really hard on me. I feel like I've been disrespected and leave it at that. But that is the end of that story.
I'm considering canceling our wedding because my fiance gained weight.
That's probably an overreaction.
We've been together since we were 18 years old. He proposed last April, to which I was so happy about. Back then, he was overweight by maybe 50 pounds. He gained this over the course of college. While it's of course not great, it also wasn't a deal breaker for me. I still enjoyed spicy sleep with him. Oh God. And he was still active enough that we could live a normal life and have fun together. By the way, this comes from throwaway fiance weight. Wow. On the r/OKStorytime subreddit. If you want to send in your own stories, go to r/OKStorytime. So since then, he's gained nearly 100 more pounds in a little over a year. He now weighs over 300 pounds. It's ridiculous at this point. I completely understand eating a crappy cafeteria vending machine, microwave diet when you're in college, plus the stress of late night studying or partying where snacking is standard, but this far exceeds that. His habits didn't improve after college. They just got worse. I've lived with him since our junior year and can attest that he eats far more junk food now, not less, despite me shopping and making healthy, appropriately sized meals for the both of us. Not complaining about that. I actually love cooking and trying new recipes. I'm just pointing out that he won't eat healthy even though he doesn't want to put any effort into do so.
What's wrong with this guy? Eh? Why won't he eat the good food?
Well, like, I'm also like, for OP, I'm like, of course, you know, we want to do whatever we can to like make the people we love have the healthiest, happiest life ever, but you can't like force someone to do it. And I don't know, it's obviously a very tricky subject and situation, but are you not fighting a losing battle? Like, if you want to go to the extreme, there's like substances, right? And when people are like addicted to substances, it's like, okay, you can't like, you can obviously have interventions, like you should absolutely do all that stuff. But the real thing that makes a difference is when they decide to do it for themselves. And it's just this, like, it's a very tricky, very delicate dance, like support someone, but then getting into the area of like trying to force them. But like, I don't know. It's just so hard. So also food delivery apps, seriously, no hate to all the drivers trying to make some money, but on the customer end, I feel like the sheer 24/7 instant access to fast food has become a crutch to him. He has to order something almost every day. Never mind the hole it's drilling in our budget. He can't seem to resist this constant availability, knowing he can get whatever he wants whenever he wants it without even having to leave the house. This far predates quarantine, by the way. I can feel my spicy sleep interest dwindling by the day. It feels horrible because I still love him for the person he is, but the physical part just isn't there anymore. It's a lack we both notice. The problem is he's not particularly motivated to do anything about it because his spicy sleep drive has decreased in an inverse relationship with his weight gain. He basically figures we're just equally not feeling like having as much spicy sleep these days. He doesn't connect that he's doing something to cause this. It's not just a fluke, and it's not just about his size either. It's also his tendency to just sit on the couch on his laptop, snacking all day. We used to do more things together. I've tried so many times to get him to do stuff I know he's interested in or used to be, but he usually turns it down in favor of the internet. I find it hard to find attraction to him when that's all he does with his day. I've tried talking to him about this. He alternates between saying he's not that overweight and saying it's not a big deal because he doesn't have any medical problems, but he can't know that for certain because he hasn't been to the doctor in a while. In general, he sidesteps my worries by making jokes and acting really casual about it. Our wedding plans are pending due to the vid, but we decided we'll probably go ahead with just a very small ceremony in September. Being so close to making this commitment to him as he is right now is seriously starting to give me pause. I don't want my husband to be like this for the rest of his life. I don't want to see him pass away young. I mean, 100 pounds in a year. So where is he going to be by the time he's 30 at that rate? I'm not sure why he doesn't see a problem. He seems content with how things are, and he says he isn't depressed. I've pushed it, but did ask a couple times, and he didn't seem to understand why I was asking. I do know depression or other mental illnesses can cause things like this, and I know depression cannot always be seen by people around you. but we are quite emotionally open with each other. Are you?
I don't know. Are you?
Are you now?
No, you can go on a Discord and AI chat people and not be emotionally connected.
He's never been a guy who struggles to talk about his feelings or problems, so this is unusual to me. He's caring towards me, goofy and chipper as always in his daily attitude. His hygiene is fine. You wouldn't think anything was different if not for how he eats garbage and usually doesn't want to do anything that'd take him away from the computer or his phone for more than an hour. Could he still be depressed? What do you think? What do I do about all this? If he is struggling with something, I want to support him. On the other hand, if it's just laziness and not caring, I honestly don't think I could deal with it if that ever changed. How do I tell the difference? We have an update. Dare I say, a big update.
About 100 pounds worth of update.
Yes. Before we get into the update, breaking this down further, Dakota, I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
I think that if she, first of all, came to communicate in all the things like, for instance, I feel like we don't go out anymore, and I loved going out, within the past. I feel like, potentially maybe you're, getting more depressed, and that's like not good. And I want to see, I could be wrong, but I'm maybe seeing it. Maybe I want you happy. It feels like there's a slew of things that she could also address, and also she could, I don't know. It's just so hard to yes, should he get healthy for sure? But it's so hard to tell him to do that. I don't know.
Come from a place of love first. Love first. Gotta come from a place of love first. I'm not feeling like most of this was written from a place of love. It was written from a place of why am I married to this big, fat, lazy man? And it's you can't be like that. You gotta be hey, I'm legitimately worried about you.
Yes.
And if you don't see why, that's also making me worry, because you should see that these things are not good indicators.
Yes. Let's get into updates.
Yeah.
Well, here it goes. Not a great update. I took a number of suggestions on what to bring up to him and how to have the conversation about my concerns. He did the usual thing of trying to brush it off. I persisted much more than I have before. Eventually, I got my wish. He finally told the truth. Not easily, mind you. This was a several hours long ordeal. He did not want to come clean about anything. He has a weight gain spicy desire.
I would not have expected that to be the answer.
Guys, we read a lot of stories. None of us in this room were expecting that. Not an ICU insight for that one. Not me or someone else gaining weight, which I already knew was a thing, but him gaining weight. He has been doing all of this on purpose for years. He said at the beginning it was unintentional, just eating too much junk at college. Then he realized he liked it. He also realized if he let himself balloon too much, I might bail. He didn't want to lose me, so he had enough self-control to keep it at a moderate level until I accepted his proposal last year. That was apparently the green light he needed to throw restraint to the wind and start pursuing the spicy desire full speed ahead.
Wow, that's unhinged. I'm not even gonna lie. That's
Wow,
completely
man.
unhinged. Well, once she marries me, there's no way for her to leave.
No, I never had a single inkling of suspicion the entire time. I guess I can't blame myself for that because dramatic weight gain is usually for the reasons I assumed: depression, stress, bad habits, or just getting comfortable and not caring. You never hear of spicy motivations for it. I still feel like a complete and utter fool, like I got played hard. This was not what I thought I was marrying into. When, if ever, was he going to tell me? He claims he would have when it was the right time. What does that mean? Next week? I doubt it. What does this all mean? Was he going to say it next week? Doubt it. Years in the future when we have kids? More likely. Oh, and the reluctance to do anything requiring getting off the internet that I mentioned? That's because he's posting in forums and Discord spicy communities talking about it. All these people share weight gain tips and compare progress pictures of their bellies and write pornographic roleplay stories. I'm truly disgusted. I've obviously been sat right next to him countless times while he gets off in his own little world. He has even discussed with random strangers how to keep me in the dark. Apparently, the most common suggestion was play dumb and make it into a running joke. So there's my explanation for why he constantly dismisses anything I say. Unbelievable. This has been going on right under my nose for years. I really cannot fathom how I could be so clueless, and the person I thought I knew had the gall to not only intentionally make himself obese, but to hide motivations from me, seek out advice, and lie to me over when I would attempt to talk my worry out.
Yeah, it's not the thing itself. that is like
Yes.
I mean, it's definitely strange, like for a lot of people. I would just like, but it's the fact that it was like the deception, the lying, the deceit is like very much like I'm done. I'm done with you because you literally like lied to me and did all of this and then tried to trap me in a marriage. And then you're like, now that she can't leave, I'm going to gain 100 pounds in a year. It's like, what are we doing?
Specifically for me, what takes it to like 11 out of 10 is conspiring with others in the spicy Discord communities on how to lie.
Yeah.
Like if it was like, I was ashamed and and I didn't know what to say, but I wanted to tell you, okay, we're at least warmer there. We're like, when we're conspiring with people in the spicy Discords, that's when it's like, man, that's...
Yes. How to keep your partner unaware. 101. It's like,
If
you're
you're
a
gonna
bad
do it
dude
for that,
now.
Yeah.
You're a bad dude.
I expressed how I felt seriously betrayed, like our relationship had been built on a false pretense without my knowledge. He did apologize sincerely. He said he would try, quote unquote, to lose weight. I asked why he's saying that now. Why did he refuse to discuss, let alone change anything all the other times I asked and brought it up, leaving me to be confused and worried instead? He didn't give an answer. He just begged me to give him one chance and promised he'd stop and get healthier. By the way, if you want to stop not having the greatest advice on planet mother flippin' Earth,
If you're just aching for it.
if you're aching and baking and your legs are quaking, run over to Spotify, Apple, and your favorite podcast app and search what, Dakota?
Okay, story time.
Okay, story time. 2,000 episodes for your listening pleasure. But yeah, we're about to end the story, but I mean, I feel like everything we've already said, like I think OP can leave, not because like, oh, he gained weight, I want to leave. It's like he was hiding this deceit from me. He wasn't communicating with me. I was, admittedly losing my desire to like he wouldn't go out with him. He didn't want to go out with me. Like all of these things that are not even about the weight gain. I feel like OP's already off that wanting to leave.
Yeah. I mean, it's everything around it. And then also it's like, you can be like, look, I don't want to like be in a relationship with someone who just like gains 100 pounds without blinking an eye and just thinks that that's like perfectly fine.
So to finish out the story, my problem is I just don't know if I can believe that. And even if he follows through, I don't know if I can get over being lied to for years. I was so dumbfounded that I asked him to leave today. The conversation was last night, so I could collect my thoughts. He'll be back tomorrow night. I'm 100% sure I want to call off the engagement. 80% sure I just want to bite the bullet and end the relationship. F this. I absolutely love this man. Why did he have to do this?
Because he needed to be thick. He needed to be Daddy Thickums. Little baby Thickum boy.
We'll see if there's an update.
Hey, it's your boy, little baby Thickum boy. I'm here workshopping more ways to lie to my girlfriend about why I'm gaining all this weight. He has an entire online community about how he gains weight.
They got deleted.
Oh, wow. Just wiped from everything.
They got suspended.
Well, yeah, I think we've said everything. I will say OP, I felt like at first, like OP was coming from this like attacking.
Yeah, it was a little bit.
If she had just tweaked that to love first, I think there wouldn't be anywhere near as much, critiques for OP's approach in this story.
I agree.
But that's it. That's literally all she wrote.
My best friend's fiance demands I stop using my nickname for her, but I refused.
Say my name, or don't.
So there is me, 29 female, my best friend, also 29 female, and her fiance, 30s male. They just got engaged last week. I'm going to be their maid of honor. Yay!
Yay.
Her fiance is fine. I think not in the hot way, but just in like the it's okay way.
Yep.
We're not best friends forever or anything, but he's cool. He's kind of socially an awkward nerd, and it's hard to get him to open up without bringing up what he's most interested in, what he does for a living, whatever TV show he's watching, etc. And then the conversation with him can get a little one-sided. And by the way, this comes from user D and Cease. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit and submit them there. So, my best friend and I have been friends since we were 15. 5-ish years ago, before my best friend started dating her fiance, she and I watched The Wire together. We both now consider it our favorite show. Anyway, after watching that show, I started calling her D as a nickname because, well, her name starts with D. And also, there's a character we both like who's also called D. I almost exclusively call her by her nickname now. Warning, there's a spoiler for The Wire in the following paragraph, so if you haven't seen it, don't keep reading.
Dang it. Oh, well.
Honestly, if you
I guess it's
haven't
done.
watched,
I guess it's over.
The Wire's been out for 20 years.
No, I need more time.
You've had your time. I got a very unexpected message from her fiance last night on Facebook. He told me that now that he and Dee are getting married, he kindly requests that I stop calling her by the nickname I gave her, as it's not a very mature way of addressing her. I would hate to think of you calling her that during your speech at our wedding. He also went on to say that he never approved of that nickname anyway because the character gets unalived in the show, and he doesn't like that imagery associated with my future wife. I'm not the most diplomatic person, so I don't entirely know how to respond. I'm not even entirely sure if I should say anything at all. There's a ha ha ha, but also part of me that wants to send back, sure, no problem, bro. I'll just start calling her Brody instead, or maybe Omar. Oh, I know. I'll start calling her Snoop. Snoop would be a great fit for her. A similar part of me wants to agree with him, and then during their wedding, just use her nickname constantly during my speech. And there's another, admittedly angrier part of me that wants to say, what? Are you kidding me? No. Request denied. Oh, and F you. Don't ever dictate to me how I should interact with my best friend. There's also this weird possessiveness associated with his wording the message. He never calls her by her name, just a lot of my future wife. My fiance. My best friend is fiercely independent, and I know she wouldn't appreciate being talked about like that. So maybe I should forward the message on to her, saying something like, hey, your fiance just sent this to me, and I don't really know what to make of it. Edit for an important detail that I forgot to add. My best friend and I are both bi, and we have macked in the past. A little smoochy. Just
the
a
50-50
couple,
game.
just
I
a
love
little make out. A good handful of times in high school. We're like, we need to practice for our future boyfriends. And now we're like, what do you mean? What boyfriends? Right, yeah, boyfriends, sure, And I don't know, 4 or 5 times in college. So you, that's an important detail.
Yeah.
That's a pretty important detail.
Hey, they're just friends. I mean, they're just trying to figure out for their future, partners.
Yeah, friends that had talked about dating each other.
Practice for the wedding kiss.
A little slip of the tongue and purple trader.
Whoa!
Purple trader with a little slip of their tongue.
Oh my God.
Purple traitor, just for the chaos. Oh, why do my eyes look like that? I'm melting. We had talked about dating each other, but I don't know. We love each other, but I don't think we would ever be in love with each other. We're pretty different people, which is why I think we make such good friends, but not terribly good significant others. The last time we talked about being in a relationship was like, I don't know, 8 years ago. It's now only just occurring to me that maybe this has something to do with her fiance's unexpected message. Any advice would be appreciated. Thanks, y'all. And there's a small update.
Okay. Un poquito.
Well, I just got off the phone with Dee. Oh, she didn't stop using that nickname.
Nope.
She called me and I started to answer like I usually do, which is, sup, Dee? But then, remembering that maybe she doesn't want to be called that anymore, I just sort of awkwardly extended the D sound into her full name. So I answered like, sup, Dee? Full name? Rest of name? She admittedly said, fiance told you to stop calling me Dee, didn't he? I said yes, and she exclaimed, what? The F! I can't believe he actually effing did that. Look, I gotta go. I'll talk to you later. And don't stop calling me D. You got it, D, I replied. We said our goodbyes and she hung up. So I think someone might have crossed the line. And we do have some comments here.
Okay.
Let's get into them a little bit here. Comment number 1, tell your friend, okay? Ask her if it bothers her that you call her D. And as we now already know, it's not the case.
Ding, ding, ding.
I'm 99% sure, OP says, that she doesn't mind that I call her D. She never hesitated to let me know when I've done something to annoy her, but I will be sure to ask her anyway. Comment 2 says, whatever you do, do not use your speech to sabotage their wedding, which I agree with.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, this guy seems oddly possessive, and I think you should follow other people's advice by forwarding your friend the email and asking her if she shares her husband's opinion. But even if she does not share his opinion on the nickname, don't play the prank of saying okay to her fiance's message and then turning around and dropping her nickname all throughout your maid of honor speech. A wedding is not the time to do that. It'll ruin the day, and suddenly one of the biggest days of your friend's life will be all about you and your I was here before her husband act of defiance. And that makes you know better than her husband, because then the two of you are playing a weird possessive game of who lays first claim to a fully grown independent adult. And there is a third comment that says your edit is super important. And I'm just going to see, okay, there's another update. we're going to the update.
Okay.
Before we go to the update,
Yes.
John,
Dakota.
what is your take on I guess the hot button take on, is it okay to tell someone who's getting married or to address someone getting married by a nickname?
Yep. I mean, that is the hottest topic. I mean, it is the most hotly contested, debated topic in human history.
Is it just
I would say
the thickest line you don't cross ever? Now that it's my wife, her nickname belongs to me.
obviously no. It's like, hey, it's in a vacuum, right? We'll talk about the other thing in a second. Like in a vacuum, hey, it's fun, it's cute, they're friends. Super weirdly controlling, super weirdly possessive of fiance, of the groom. Not liking that. I'm not liking that. I say keep the nickname. However, we got that very important update, which did claim that they would, practice kissing for their future boyfriends and
smooch here and there.
husbands and everything. And maybe this is where, maybe groom is using this as like a vehicle to like try and address, like, what if he's like, next step, I don't want you to speak. Next step after that, I don't want you bridesmaid or whatever. Next step after that, I don't want you at the wedding.
That's right.
Get out of here.
Starts the little baby step increments
Slippery
into the
slope.
Control.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? I'm just going to throw it out there. I think I'm going to say that's my prediction for what he does, and then it ends up in a divorce. And then OP and her end up together.
You mean a divorce?
You got me, Keon.
Yeah.
I always got you, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And your eyes are matching the background today. Look at that.
It's like a green
Look at
screen put on
those.
your face.
Nice. Wow. Everybody tell Keon how cute he is.
Ooh, do it.
Don't.
And
Do
you
it.
know what? I'm
I'll
actually going to
blush.
go back and I'm going to read this comment
Let's do it.
because
Context.
I forgot that the edit they were talking about was the smooching edit. So your edit is super important. This is probably a huge issue between the three of you. These two are now getting married, but one member of that future marriage has made out with their best friend multiple times. It's probably causing some discomfort. I'd say be prepared for the dynamics of your friendship to change because not many people would be okay with someone they were marrying being so close friends with someone they had been close with in other ways, making out and you saying you love her. There's probably a lot going on behind the scenes in terms of this that you're not hearing about, or maybe you are and you just didn't include it. He brought the nickname up because it's something intimate and close you and your friend share. And I'd expect a lot more of the same. Looking at it from his point of view, can you blame him? That take was kind of whack.
Yeah. Again, the nickname thing is stupid. However, if the groom was like, hey, look, I know you're super close with your friend, but I got to admit, it does make me a little bit uncomfortable. And I just want to, like, I don't know, make sure there's nothing that, like, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm crazy, but this is how I'm feeling. That is acceptable. Not going to her like, hey, you know that nickname you got? You got to stop that. I'm big man. I'm big man, You know I have a nickname. No. Stupid.
I just love the way he talks. My beautiful husband. That's why I'm marrying him. His voice.
Hey, you're my wife. Yeah. Goodbye.
I picked him up in a time machine. I went back to the caveman times.
Hottest Neanderthal on the street.
Okay, let's get into this update.
Let's go.
Dee and her older brother are very close, and she wanted him to be one of her bridesmaids. I guess that would make him a bridesman or something. Whatever, that doesn't matter. Anyway, the message her brother received said that will no longer be happening, as the wedding was going to be traditional, and Dee's brother would be replaced with the fiance's sister, who lives on the other side of the country, who Dee has met like 4 times. So not someone you would want on your bridal party, a stranger. Dee's cousin was also messaged informing her that because of her lifestyle, she will no longer be part of Dee's bridal party. However, if her cousin leaves her wife at home for the wedding, her position will be reconsidered. If you can cosplay as a straight woman, we'll let you participate. That's ridiculous. Another of Dee's bridesmaids has short hair, a nose piercing, and small but visible tattoos.
Here we go.
Again, dismissed from the bridal party unless she changes her appearance to be more presentable. And then there was me. I guess he couldn't find much dirt on me, so he just decided to reprimand me for my choice in nicknames for her or something. I don't effing know. She was completely unaware that any of this had happened and was just quietly sitting at home alone when her brother called her and was like, what the heck is going on? Dee was understandably very confused, and her brother explained the message. At first, she thought he was kidding, but he forwarded it to her. She immediately called her fiance, who was out with friends, and demanded an explanation. He calmly explained that yes, he did send that message to her brother, and he messaged the other members in her bridal party as well, and told her his reasons why. As if on cue, her phone starts blowing up with texts and phone calls from her cousin, understandably, as her cousin arguably got the worst message out of all of us. Dee basically said to her fiance, you need to come home right now. Hangs up on him and calls her cousin. Let's go, Dee. Nice.
Let's go.
Power play.
Give it
Power
to him,
play
D.
time.
Give him that D.
You need to come home and change everything about your personality. After spending time calming her cousin down, she calls me and we had our brief but informative conversation. And then she called her tattooed friend. At this point, it's been about half an hour since she first called her fiance and he still wasn't home. So she called him again, being like, where are you? Come home right now. Her fiance then tells her, no, he will not be coming home right now. He is out with friends and will return when he chooses to. He threw in, quote, you're being emotional right now anyway. I expect you to stop acting like a child by the time I return.
I could say that to you.
Yeah, you're being the child.
That's right.
Child on you. You are child.
What if we called husband Lil D?
Ooh.
Yeah, little,
For the implications.
little D. The implications are simply irresistible.
Irresistible.
So she was so furious that she just hung up on him. He finally meanders his butt home, and she immediately loses her crap on him. He keeps telling her to stop being irrational and think logically, to which she basically responded with, what the F are you talking about? There was nothing rational or logical about what you did.
There we go. Yes.
He starts talking about how weddings aren't about the bride. What? What?
Whoa.
Which is like, what? What? It's like the only rule
Stop.
is...
Stop.
That's crazy. OP says, which is like, what? No. Dee is not the type of person to think that her wedding is only going to be about her. It's about bringing family and friends together, and he can't have people like your friends in front of all of his friends and family. What about his professional reputation? He's some highfalutin lawyer?
Highfalutin.
Highfalutin? Highfalutin lawyer. What will his parents think when they see her friend with all the piercings? She has one nose piercing, and me calling her some ridiculous black name during my wedding speech. So, like, divorce and then also, like, throw him out of the planet's
Yeah.
gravity
Yeah.
into a black hole using a trebuchet of some kind.
Yes.
Where he will turn into stinky spaghetti.
Stinky spaghetti.
What?
The most
What?
painful way.
OP clarifies. Look, I never used that phrase, but this is the phrase I can think of. What is this? I don't even. Black name? What? Black name? Dee, at this point, was so furious that she tried to throw him out. But he just sighed, sat down on the couch, and said, you are being utterly ridiculous right now. I am not leaving. You need to calm down. So she decided to leave instead. As she was packing her stuff, he kept heaving great sighs and calling some variation of, you're being so irrational, calm down, from across the apartment. So she left. She called me, absolutely livid, asking if she could come over to my place. I, of course, said yes. And when she arrived, she told me everything that happened. There was one point when we were talking where she covered her face with her hands and just started sobbing, which is fair, because that's something you do when you realize the guy you thought you were going to marry is actually so grotesque that you don't want anything to do with him anymore. She said that she knew that their relationship hasn't been going well for a while. All he did was go to work, spend time with his other obnoxious lawyer friends, come home, watch CNN or MSNBC, and sleep. Their conversations became painfully one-sided, where he would talk endlessly about something she didn't find interesting, and whenever she would try to change the subject, he would basically wait for her to stop and then keep talking as if she had said nothing at all. He never helps clean around the apartment as, quote, cleaning was not as important to him as it was to her, so she should do it. And it was going to get messy again anyway. He stopped holding her hand in public. If she was upset or sad about something, he would always find some excuse to leave. I mean, the list just keeps going. He's just this thoughtless, self-centered jerk. Honestly, I've always gotten wienerish vibes from him. See a previous post where I briefly mentioned how hard it was to get him to talk to you unless you talked about something he was interested in, but I never knew that he was that big of a wiener. She and her fiance texted last night and this morning, and again, there was more, stop this, you're being childish, come home. He's so nonchalant. Ugh.
Sucks.
She said she wasn't being childish, that there was some really serious problems in their relationship, and she doesn't think they can move forward without some premarital counseling. He replied with, fine. Now, are you coming home tonight? It initially took her a few hours for her to respond to that text. As soon as she read it, she slumped over on my couch, pulled her knees up to her chest, and said, I really don't want to go back in that apartment. She later said that she has a really heavy feeling that even if they did go to premarital counseling, nothing would change. She could easily see him thinking that he is smarter than the therapist and trying to use the therapist to convince her that she's being irrational. I then asked, so does that mean the wedding isn't going to happen? And she just burst into tears again. Sad face. I felt really awful asking that, and I probably shouldn't have asked that. I held her and apologized and kept saying, it's okay, you don't have to answer that right now, until she calmed down. She decided she wanted another night away from him, and she texted him to let him know that. He has yet to respond. Honestly, I don't even think you're out of line for asking that, and if I was in your position, I would be like, not even being like, so do you think the wedding's not going to happen? I'd be like, you can't marry this guy. This guy's showing you exactly what's going to happen for the rest of your life if you marry this guy.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, though, it's like she's like, this is like the moment where she's like, everything's falling apart and like how insane it must be to like actually have it sink in that this is the man you were going to marry.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, let's get a good night of sleep and like whatever else. And then it's like, oh, probably not the best move to marry him.
Right. Yeah. I wouldn't continue to hammer the point home right now, right?
Yeah.
Just get it out there, then go to sleep, wake up. Here we go.
Here we go. Or here we don't.
Out of curiosity, I did ask her if she thinks his message to me had anything to do with us hooking up in the past.
Ooh.
She said no. She never told him that she was bi. She said that she never felt comfortable sharing that with him. She burst into tears again when she said this, admitting that's probably a sign that this relationship was effed up from the start. And we agree.
Ding, 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 ding.
Anyway, Dee and I both took the day off from work. We spent it eating ice cream and day drinking and marathoning Parks and Rec. We went for a walk and she talked and cried a lot. Right now, all her bridesmaids, including her brother, are at my place. They're contacting her all day, asking if she was okay and if they could come see her. I told her that she can tell them all that they can come over to my place later, and initially she said no. She said she was so embarrassed by everything that happened that she wasn't sure she could handle seeing everyone. I shut that down pretty quick, saying she had nothing to be embarrassed about. All this BS has everything to do with her fiancé and not her. It took a little more convincing, and her friends and brother offering to bring some booze and some ice cream. But they're all here now. Her cousin brought her wife too, and Dee started crying again as soon as they walked in and apologized profusely to the two of them. They insisted that wasn't necessary, but she apologized anyway, and I want to apologize to you.
Why, Dakota?
Because you can listen to full episodes just like this on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and wherever you get your podcasts, iHeartRadio perhaps. All you have to do is search OK Storytime, and then you've got the full catalog. And I have to apologize because you're going to spend the next 48 consecutive days listening to our podcast.
You're going to have the best 48 days of your life awake.
It's true.
Because you can't fall asleep because of how riveting it is.
Can't fall asleep. No sleep, 48 days, nothing else on your agenda. And, you know, I apologized at first for that, but I'm taking that back. You're welcome. Clearly,
yes,
it's hard to realize the guy you're going to marry and that you're not going to marry him.
Yeah.
But I think this is the perfect environment to have been in with one of your best friends, and all the people who are, you know, like in your bridal party are also there to support you. It's always going to be rough. It would be weird if you were just like, no, this is totally fine, unaffected.
Yeah.
That would be abnormal, I think. So let's go ahead and finish this story here.
Okay.
She's going to spend the night at her brother's tonight. I told her she was welcome to stay here, but her brother and his wife have like an actual house. And so there are guest rooms she can stay in as opposed to my 1-bedroom apartment. Said brother is making her favorite dinner right now. There's about 20 pints of Ben & Jerry's in the fridge and more wine and vodka than you can shake a stick at. We still got Parks and Rec on in the background and we're all piled on my couch with her.
Treat yourself.
She's all
Treat yourself.
burritoed up, treat yourself, in a blanket, and I dumped a basket of stuffed animals on her head earlier today, which made her crack up laughing.
Treating yourself.
That's nice.
Cute.
That's treating your
Laughter
friend.
is the best of medicine.
And you know what? This is like the bridal group. These are the people she wanted to celebrate with. The biggest moment of her life.
Exactly.
Coming together. It makes sense.
Support.
Good.
We like this.
Support.
Basically, we're all just trying to be there for her as best as we can. Comments? So comment number 1.
Talk to me.
Talk about escalating quickly, my God. Well, it seems like this has all been a blessing in disguise. Your friend has escaped the clutches of a stuck-up, narrow-minded, condescending, a little shrimp of a man. Good for her, and good for you for being such a good friend. I couldn't say it better, and that is the end of that story, and I couldn't agree more.
Yes.
My male best friend's fiance is jealous of me. She gave him an ultimatum, me or their engagement.
Oh, that's healthy.
There is a little trigger warning here. There is loss and grief from self-harm. If that's something you cannot compute internally right now, do not listen to this story. July 16th, 2020. Hello, all. So, here is the backstory. I've been best friends with this guy that we'll call Troy, 23, since we've been in 8th grade. All throughout high school, we hung out together with our other mutual best friend, Adam. All 3 of us hung out quite a bit and did nearly everything together. By the way, this comes from user Pelican Dom, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, in high school, we had our fair share of losses and trauma. There was a point where both Adam and Troy stayed at my house for a couple of months prior to college due to home problems. So I think we got closer than usual friends because we learned to lean on each other so much. Fast forward to college and all 3 of us went to different colleges, but we would all FaceTime each other every other day. Leaving our families and each other was rough for us, and we had developed a sort of codependency on each other in high school, and our continuing communication every day didn't help the situation, but we were coping. Come sophomore year, Troy started dating his now fiancé, Emily. They get on well and are a great couple, and I'm very happy for them.
The T stands for Troy.
The T stands for Troy. Shout out to the High School Musical folks. From the beginning, Troy was very clear that I was just a friend and that he tells me and Adam everything. She was all right with it as far as I knew at the time. So it wasn't uncommon for us to hear about his relationship problems and fights they were having. When Adam and I went to visit him and met her for the first time, she was very kind to us, albeit a little awkward, but that's understandable. Whenever we would visit him, he would kind of ignore her and hang out with us exclusively. And we pointed that out to him, but he always dismissed it as he saw her every day and us maybe once every 6 months. I let it slide because it wasn't my fight to fight. I think it was our visits and his neglect of her that started her bitterness towards me. Which honestly, like if you do see somebody every single day and you have like a friend who you see twice a year that's in town, I think it's totally fair to be hanging out with those people.
Yeah. But does it bring out the insecurity in the other person?
I probably. And there's a way to do that where it doesn't feel like you're neglecting your partner.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that was achieved here.
There's a difference of like dropping them like your partner like a rock and like, all right, I gotta go. Or like, hey, communicating it.
Yeah.
There's a
Correct.
big difference.
Let 'em know.
Yeah, just let them know.
Let him know.
So, years went by, and now they're engaged. Adam was chosen as the best man, and I'm meant to be a groomsman in his wedding. A few months ago, our best friend, Adam, took his own life. Troy and I were, and still are, devastated. It came out of nowhere, and we blame ourselves, even though we know it's not our fault. I live alone in an apartment and expressed to Troy that I was distressed and lonely, especially due to the vid lockdown. Troy dropped everything to come live with me for a few weeks as we dealt with our grief and could talk to each other about it. We're both in therapy right now for this grief. A week ago, Troy got a call from Emily that she wants him back at their apartment now because she doesn't trust him with me. She went off that he was cheating on her with me and that he should be choosing her over me. He got upset with her and basically told her he was grieving and she didn't understand what he was going through, but that I did. It came down to a point where Emily gave him an ultimatum and said that Troy could either choose me or her. He said it was unfair of her to make him choose between two important people in his life, and that if she can't understand that he needs me, then maybe they weren't meant to be together. Well, that all escalated very quickly.
It sure did.
She was hurt by that statement and told him she needed to cool off and think, so they hung up. Today, Emily texted me asking if I had feelings for him, and I said no. She then called me and asked if I loved him, and I told her yes, but as a brother. I would do anything for Troy. It's like,
right.
Where have I seen that one before?
It's like, oh.
Ooh. I'm sorry.
The T stands for totally in love with you as a brother.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Oh, stay away from the washing machine.
Oh, God.
I'd do anything for Troy. She told me if I did love him, I would take a step back and let her have him. I told her that this is a conversation she needs to have with him and that I'm tired of being in the middle of it. She got angry with me and hung up, and I immediately told Troy about my conversation with her. He called her and broke up with her. This is all going pretty quickly here.
Yeah.
OP says, I think it was hasty and emotional, and I'm trying to talk him out of it, but I'm not sure what else I can do. Can you all give me some advice? I feel like this is my fault for asking him to come stay with me. And we have a edit, which starts with, hey all, it's been a few hours since I posted this, and I didn't expect to get all these responses. Thank you all for your input. It's really helped me get some perspective. I've been told that my relationship with both Troy and Adam was detrimental to the rest of the relationships, and I was taking steps to fix that, but with Adam's passing and the vid stress, all the lessons I've been learning kind of flew out the window. That's no excuse for how I've been behaving. Troy is a dear friend, and I've been sabotaging his relationships with other people unknowingly. That's not fair to him or to the people in his life. I've considered Emily a friend too since I've met her, but I haven't been a good friend to her either. Since I posted this, Troy broke down about his breakup and regrets breaking up with her. He texted her and they agreed to try and talk things out in a couple of days when they have both had time to consider everything. I showed Troy this thread and he got to hear what you all were saying too, so hopefully that helps. He and I agreed we need some space apart, so he will stay at my apartment and I'm staying on the couch of a coworker. Again, thank you for all your input, for those who supported me and those who called Troy and me out on our behavior. I don't know if I agree with that. You were two very good friends who were there for each other in a moment of extreme grief.
This is ultimately on Troy. Yeah, OP could have been, I guess, more thoughtful and everything, but it is not OP's responsibility.
Yeah.
That is the key.
This is true. Hopefully, with our continued therapy and eventual boundaries, we can maintain a healthy friendship as well as have healthy relationships with other people. And we have some comments here, top comments. Naps are my favorite, says, I don't think there's anything you can do here. If I'm Emily, I'm seeing my fiance, my future husband, in a codependent, quote unquote, relationship with another woman, whom he tells everything about our relationship, who regularly ignores and abandons me to hang out with her when she visits, and who literally moved in with her during his grief. How can she be his wife when he turns to you exclusively to the point of moving in with you when he needs support? This is not a man who is ready to marry.
Again,
maybe, but like,
I feel like this person is projecting into the, like, obviously it wasn't okay with Troy's partner, but that could be fine in
yeah.
I think that the key here is, he's not ready to be in a relationship. No, if they're not able to communicate and find out what the other feels and a situation that works for both of them, that is when they're not ready to get married.
Correct. Agreed.
That is it.
I'm not saying that you did anything wrong. I'm just saying he clearly doesn't want her in the wife role. It's not a play, dog. It's real life. If I was her, I would have skipped the ultimatum and just dumped him. It's obvious she can never come close to the role that you play in his life. A reply here from BH0000. I'm not saying you did anything wrong. Well, I'll say it. I feel badly for OP, especially with the loss of her friend, but Emily is absolutely 100% right. How humiliating it must have been for her to even have to issue an ultimatum, but what else could she do? I don't know, have like a clear communication, like a dialogue about this, because clearly
Impossible.
no one's on the same page.
No, I have to shut my lips and yell somehow. because doing those two things at the same time makes sense.
And then he confirmed her worst fears and chose OP over her. There's nothing about this relationship that is okay for a man in an engaged or married situation. He left his soon-to-be wife to go live with another woman during a global pandemic, and she asked him to. He ditches his fiance for OP whenever she's around. What's that all about? It was OP's responsibility to tell him that if he's going to be married, she needs to be brought into the group, even if only because he wasn't willing to set up that expectation himself. Frankly, they deserve one another, and I hope Emily finds herself a real loyal man. Wow, that was so harsh.
Dude, the comments are going crazy.
Internet don't care.
The internet is interneting in the net negative.
Anyway, there's an update. Let's see what happens in the update.
Let's get into it.
July 28, 2020. Hey all, I thought I'd just give you an update on what happened since I made my first post here. A few hours after Troy broke up with Emily, he broke down in tears and was miserable. He regretted breaking up with her and texted her. They both agreed to talk to each other after a few days when they had a chance to cool off and think things through. I also texted Emily after I got some advice from a DM and apologized for everything and how I may have hurt her. She replied with thanks, and that was it. But that was all right. I needed to apologize to her. That evening, Troy and I were able to go over the comments from the original post and talk with each other. He and I agreed we needed some space from each other, so that night I called up a coworker and asked if I could crash on their couch for a few days. They agreed, so Troy stayed at my apartment and I went to my coworkers. We didn't talk for 5 days to give each other some space. That was really hard for me because I kept overthinking that Troy hated me and that he didn't want me in his life anymore. I was convinced that I was going to lose Troy, and that made me miserable because we just lost Adam, but that was just my anxiety speaking. He called me after a few days saying that he had spoken with Emily and that they were back together. I was so happy for them and relieved. I wanted to ask for details, but I figured I had stuck my nose into the relationship too much as is, so I didn't ask, and Troy didn't say anything to me. He told me that I should come back to the house though, and I asked if Emily was all right with that. He said yes, so I moved back into my apartment. When I got back to my apartment, I asked him if he was going back to his apartment with Emily, but he said no due to the vid. He's going to stay with me for the next few weeks minimum. It was a strange time regardless.
But
because it's like, I can imagine that just being vid type stuff where it's like, well, now I got to stay here for 2 weeks and make sure I don't get sick because now I've been exposed to you and you were exposed to your friend. Now you're exposing to me. And so I got to wait a couple weeks to make sure I'm not exposing anyone else.
The thing that's weird to me is he's telling and not asking. He's telling OP, I'm going to be living in your house for 2 more weeks.
That is true.
Not being like, hey, like, just because, you know, stuff. Could we give it another 2 weeks just to make sure the coasts are clear, and then I could head on back?
Yeah.
Little.
But maybe that's just like the friendship was that tight already.
It could be, but
he
still,
was staying in the house already, or the apartment by himself already.
To your good friend, to your bestest of friends, would you not say, hey, would you mind?
True.
If I stayed?
Of course.
If anything, you would do that even more because you're like, hey, I love you. I want to make sure you're Gucci.
Yeah. Having had several days apart with no communication was something new for us. So when we were together again, we just talked about everything we had been thinking about. We talked about how much we missed Adam, what we could have done to help him, and the guilt we were both holding on to. It also came to the surface that Troy rushed to my side when I asked him to because he was afraid that I was in danger of self-harm, and he didn't want to lose me either. I felt really guilty about that. I scared Troy, and that was never my intention. Which, well, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
And it's
also helpful context.
Yeah,
as well.
And that does make more sense. So after that, we just started talking about all the memories we had with Adam, and that was really uplifting, even if we were crying the whole time. I also told him how I was nervous during our separation time, and he said he felt the same way. We laughed at that and agreed that we need to work on our independence from each other more. Okay, good.
Good.
That's good.
Good.
The next day, I got a call from Emily and answered it. She wanted to apologize for assuming I was with Troy and talk about the text I sent her. She and I had an emotional talk for a couple of hours, but eventually we saw where the other was coming from. She often thought that Adam and I didn't like her, but that was only because he and I hadn't properly included her whenever we were with Troy. However, at the end of the talk, we agreed that we should talk to each other more, since Troy is significant in each of our lives. It was a good talk with her and clarified everything. She is a super sweet and considerate woman, and I think she's perfect for Troy. I'd love to be her friend too. Troy and I are going to therapy and are working on our codependence and our grief counseling in our separate therapy sessions.
That word separate was important.
Separate. separate.
I thought they were about to say, we're going in counseling to couples counseling together. I'm like,
I was also about to be like, here I go, getting yanked again.
yank.
Getting yanked.
But no. It's okay.
Can you imagine the therapist like having that epiphany too? Like realizing like, you're in couples therapy. This is your friends?
Your friends. Yeah, we can't spend a day not talking to each other.
Get out, both of you. One of you. One.
One at a time.
One of you at a time. I've also started looking into a codependence group, and I think I'll start attending those meetings. But since there's just one in town, Troy isn't going to join because we don't want to go to the same one. Smart. Emily also said that Troy and her are going to start couples therapy. So when he moves back with her, that is what they will be doing. So that's the update. Emily and Troy are back together. Troy will be with me for the next few weeks, and Emily and I started building our friendship. Hopefully from here on out, there will be more communication between those two and better boundaries between me and Troy. Troy and I are willing to put in the effort, and Emily is supportive of us, so I'm optimistic. I'm sure Adam is happy that we're moving forward together. If y'all have any more advice for me or any words of encouragement, I would love to hear them. Thank you all for your help with the initial post, though. I don't think the situation would be getting better if you all hadn't helped Troy and me open our eyes. So thank you. And we have some relevant comments here. Hey, and you know what? I think before we get into those,
Yes.
we've moved in the right direction.
We did.
And I was not in a fully informed place at the beginning of the story.
Yeah.
But it seems like they have cracked the code that they need to learn how to exist without each other.
Yes.
In some capacity.
I mean, honestly, they realize the codependence and that they need to, separate and live their own lives. They're friends, after all, for freaking Pete's sake. Everyone talked and clarified, got each other's feelings out. Oh, I understand where you're coming from. Oh, we all understand the context of the situation. And then everyone is doing the self-work and therapy.
Just a little, mwah,
I'm
a little
not
chef's
mad.
kiss right there.
I'm not mad.
Not mad at all. Am I the only one who thinks the issue itself isn't resolved whatsoever? Oh, God. Getting yanked.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here
Getting
we
yanked
go.
again. I feel like you guys all talked about it without actually doing anything to fix it. The fact that he's going to continue living with you for another few weeks at least pretty much negates everything, but this is pandemic time.
Yeah.
Sliced says nothing changed. I cannot believe this situation. Imagine going to therapy for codependency and then still living together. Emily needs to get the heck out and let these two have each other. Pandemic.
Context, baby.
Galaxy patio. I feel so bad that she took him back. This isn't going to change. They're still up to the same nonsense, and as soon as they feel a breakthrough on the therapy, they'll probably stop going, and then they're back to square one. This isn't an issue that gets solved with short-term therapy. Stuff like this can take years to unravel, especially with how long they've known each other. Stop trying to say that a tight friendship is something you need to unravel in therapy. They're just super tight.
Super tight, bro.
It's just going to be him choosing OP again and again until Emily gets sick of it or manages to get him to cut her off. And there's a second update.
Oh.
Okay.
Wow.
Here we go.
Let's go.
Wow. I did not expect the amount of hatred that this update post would receive. I thought the situation resolved itself positively. And by the way, I'm positive that you can listen to full episodes with stories like this on Spotify, on iHeartRadio, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from. Just search OK Storytime, bing, and then you will have now 49 days.
Ooh.
49 consecutive days
Breaking news.
of stories to listen to.
That's correct.
And speaking of stories to listen to, let's listen to the rest of this story.
My ears already.
Y'all want Troy out of my apartment right away, though. So I told him that he should head home as soon as possible to be with Emily, and he admitted that he did not want to go back to Florida because of the increase of the Rona, and that he liked the relatively relaxed state of things here in my state, which is exactly what I said. I told him that he was being paranoid and that he would be all right if he did the quarantine once he got back. So not the most sympathetic thing I could have told him, but since he works from home anyway, he can do this without any issues. He called Emily and they bought a plane ticket for him to head back in 3 days, so he's leaving. Okay, well, that's good. Emily is excited to have him back, and I'm glad that they can be back together again. If anything else changes, or if there's anything else you all want to know, just comment. I'll update this post. And that is the end of that story.
My mother demanded to stay in my fiance and I's wedding suite. I told her that was ridiculous. Get out! This is an LGBT couple. My 35 male, female bride and I, 41 female, planned an elopement in Vegas initially, but of course, everyone wanted to come. So we paid to have a micro wedding under 10 people for our most special guests to come. Everyone is responsible for their own rooms, arrangements, flights, etc. We posted on our website, which no one has read. By the way, this comes from Anonymous Brides, and if you want to send in your story, go to r/OKStorytime subreddit. So we planned a week out in Vegas, the first few days being just for me and my future wife. However, my dear daughter doesn't want to fly out to Vegas just for a wedding. Never been out of Vegas, so she wants to make a whole trip out of it. To me, this is not a family trip. Although my family will be there, it is a trip for me and my wife. It is our wedding after all. A few months ago, my mother suggested to stay with us in our hotel suite for the first few nights. All three of us. I shot that idea down pretty quick and hard and explained that there wouldn't be enough room. It's a wedding suite, so one king-size bed and one thin couch.
You can fit 3 people on a king size.
Oh my God.
I will say, you can.
Jeez. I was definitely surprised she had the wherewithal to even. Weather has been bad for my family and my bride's family in their respective cities. Last night, my mother called to tell me that she might not make it a few days before the wedding. She's thinking of canceling her hotel room for those 3 days because she doesn't want to lose her money. For me, that's not a huge loss. We wanted the time beforehand together anyways. I continued listening and waiting for her to ask if she can stay in our room. Let's do some dialogue.
right.
I'll be mom. So if I cancel my hotel room, but I end up going out that day anyways, can I stay with you in your room?
Mom, there's only one bed and the couch is way too thin.
I'll sleep on the floor.
Mom, no, it's not appropriate to be in my wedding suite during the wedding week.
I don't understand. You guys live together. What's the difference?
It's not appropriate.
You have made it very clear that you don't want me there these days before the wedding. That part is kind of true. We wanted to be alone, but she wanted to come sooner.
Mom, you know, I've already bought the tickets to the events that include you, and we have brunch plans on this day as well. I'd rather you be safe, and if you fly out a couple of days later, then it's fine.
I'm worried that I'm going to miss your wedding, and then you'll be mad that I missed your wedding. Because she told me 20 years ago that she wouldn't attend my wedding if I married a woman. Ooh, she's come a long way since then, and she loves my partner. I never thought my own mother would be so enmeshed with me that she would suggest to stay in the room with me. Why? I don't even understand why you would want to stay with your daughter and her new wife in her wedding suite. I can't believe that I had to tell the woman who raised me, the woman who taught me manners and respect. I can't believe I had to explain to her why she can't stay in the room with me and my partner. I feel so guilty. Probably because I've been told to feel guilty as a child, and I know I'm making the right decision. Never expected my own mother to be a monster-in-law. And there is an update. I feel my story has taken a sad turn. My relationship with my mother is worse than I thought. I will get to the story. Meow. We both arrived at the airport around the same time from our different flights, and my mom had a pain that affected her walking. Not great since we were going to be walking around Vegas.
Okay, wheelchair, and she's faking it.
I offer Advil multiple times, and she rejects it. Oh, I believe she may have taken it one time from me. We arrived at her hotel first. I assume she never canceled her reservation, lol, because she had a reservation. Wow. We dropped our bags at her room and we got onto our plans. Later that night, my wife and I checked into our suite alone. The first night with my mom was the next day in my suite. She had interrupted me several times that day, one of our many problems, then pointed out how I interrupted her. At one point, I tried to once again begin my story and she interrupts me and I exasperate. Do you know how many times I've tried to tell the story today and you've interrupted me? Then I said, do you do this to everyone or just me? And then she put her middle finger in my face, screaming at me, F you, F you, F you, F you. Oh my God.
Also, why would you say that to your kid? Because you don't want that to be happening to your kid.
Dude, this mom is crazy. My wife had to intervene and say, whoa, that was not necessary. My wife later told me that she almost threw her out of our room. I stuck to my I statements. There we go. Therapy. And I said, when you cut me off, it makes me feel like what I'm saying isn't important. I should have addressed the F you please. But it was too heated at the time. I just remembered a very sad, tragic tale.
Oh, what is it?
I remember when a young Samuel Donner, he wanted to join the cool kids, but instead of labeling you as one of the cool kids,
They called me Salad Boy because I ate nothing but salads. Could not trade my lunch for a lunch. Really anything.
You know what community will always welcome you with open arms, Sam?
And make you feel like a cool kid?
The great people who have OK Storytime memberships.
Oh, I heard that 60 plus hours of members only content Monday, Wednesday, Fridays.
You heard right, Sam, and it's only $5 a month.
So go to the link in our description, youtube.com/OKOP show/join. Now back to the story.
Chomp, chomp. I tried to de-escalate and we'll address it another time. At this point, I'm realizing that my mother is immature, emotionally immature. Whatever feelings she's feeling when I confront her, genuinely, by the way, asking her if she truly does this to everyone or just me, she can't handle it and freaks out on me like a high schooler. It's sad. I'm devastated, actually. To have this insight on my wedding getaway caused me a lot of pain. I've looked for answers for a long time. I thought maybe she's narcissistic. My therapist mentioned possible borderline personality disorder, but I'm looking into emotional maturity at the moment. I've learned it can coincide with narcissism or BPD, so I can't necessarily write those off. Then the night after that, the rest of the party starts to arrive. My wife's best friend arrives very late and has a reservation at our hotel. She calls my wife to let her know her room isn't ready and they're looking for a room for her. My mother pipes in, she didn't call an OP. She didn't call in advance to let them know. I realize very quickly that sounds like she's putting that responsibility on me, that the friend's problem is now suddenly my problem. Mom, I don't know if she called in advance. She's responsible for her own travel and her own hotel room, I say. She responds, well, you're going to let her stay in your hotel room if she doesn't get a room? I replied,
No, she's not staying in my room. There are plenty of hotel rooms in Vegas. She will get a room tonight. She's a big girl, Mom.
that's effed up. F you. No, she didn't say that. A good friend of mine also came on the trip with her new partner, stayed in a different hotel, not a problem. She didn't arrive to my hotel suite until we were about to be picked up in the limo. She gets along with my mom really well, and the minute we were in the limo, the two of them were attached at the hip, and I feel like I barely spoke to my friend. I have videos and pictures specifically of them ignoring everyone else in the limo and speaking only to each other. I took them because I felt like the party was kind of separated in the limo. The wedding went off without a hitch. We love to hear that. It was absolutely beautiful wedding, and I was so incredibly happy, crying tears of joy, I hope, and not tears of how much pain I was in from the emotional week I already had. The next morning, my friend once again ignored me to have breakfast with her partner. We discussed in advance the time everyone was getting together, and she scheduled her reservation for 30 minutes before. She sat at a different table and ate alone with her partner. We got a table next to her with 2 extra chairs, but she did not join us. She later asked my wife if I'm upset, and my wife responds, she thought she spent a little time with you on the trip. I try to let the feelings go. I'm just devastated by the people I'm allowing in my life at the moment. I am really considering evaluating these relationships. Later in my hotel room that night, I received a text from my good friend saying that she's taking off a little early from the trip, blames it on work. I don't really know why she even came. Just for the vacation, I guess. I barely said 2 words to her in the 5 hours I saw her. Sad, sad, sad. I am so sad about this, about all of this. If you go to Spotify, Apple Podcast, or dare I say your favorite freaking podcast app, and you type in OK Storytime.
Ooh, what are they going to get, John?
Every single thing that is wrong in your life will instantly dissolve away. Other than the drama. I really enjoyed the trip. I had a lovely time with my wife and very happy. Our hair and makeup and our vendors and our ceremony, all that stuff. It was all so beautiful. And I'm thankful they came to see us get married. I definitely had some insecurities before going on this trip, and it's a reality I have issues with some people in my life. I am currently in therapy and had a discussion with my therapist about this. I'm certainly not going no contact or ghosting anyone after this. That's right, Riley. But discussions need to be had, and therapy needs to continue. Books need to be read and practice needs to be put in place. All I can do is commit myself to a healthy life in all ways and practice radical acceptance. If anyone has any advice on how to let go of the pain, accepting it, or trying to be less emotional about it, I am open, all ears. Thanks for listening. Relationships can be hard, especially with emotionally immature people. And that's the end of that story.
Wow.
My fiance's hobbies are ruining our relationship, so I demanded he tone them down. This is going to be very long, more than likely. But before I begin, I have to mention that I truly do love this man. I know that I want to marry him without a doubt. I am thankful for most advice, I really am. But if your primary advice is for me to give up on him, I will not be reading any of it, because I do know that we will work through this somehow, even if it's tough right now. By the way, this comes from Mega Janos. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OKStorytime subreddit. I always thought that women who complain that their partners spend too much time with video games or the likes were a bit controlling. I am pretty introverted and very inwards person overall, so my personal space and alone time is important for me to function. As such, I never in a billion years thought I could be in that situation myself. But I guess heck is frozen over because here I am. And I can finally say, I'm sorry, babes, I get it now. I, 32 female, and my fiancé, 30 male, have been living together for a bit over a year now. I proposed to him just a week before our second anniversary, and about half a year later, he moved in with me in my apartment. This is my first time living with a romantic partner, so I knew that it would be difficult to adjust. I just never imagined,
never imagined that he'd be playing Diablo 4 for 17 hours a day.
After many years of essentially being perpetually burnt out, I reached a point where I saw no other way but to quit my job, albeit temporarily. I have had this job for my entire adult life since my last year of school even. But after my fiancé moved in and we quickly realized that my horrid schedule made it impossible to even enjoy a life together, I always worked late and he always worked early, I finally cracked. I won't get too dark and dampen the mood, but for some context, I was compulsively thinking about self-harm. And I had been in that mindset in the past, but now I couldn't stand struggling like this in what should be the happiest days of my life. So one night, I signed my letter of resignation before I'd even had the chance to tell him how I felt. Finally, on April 1st, but definitely not a joke.
Wow,
That's coming up.
You resigned without even the conversation first?
Yeah.
That seems like a little backwards to me.
I mean, I would have hoped that you were having those conversations about how you'd been feeling in this job before. It seems like, you'd had some, but yeah. Especially if you're living together, shared finances and stuff. I was always welcome back to work when I had recovered enough, and while I do work a tiny bit there now, it took me 6 months to reach that point where I could handle coming back at all. I really was worse off than I had even realized. Now, I understand that he could have felt upset with me for this, as it seemed a bit sudden from the outside looking in, and we'd been hoping to save to buy a house sometime soon, yet he never said anything bad about it, really. As the summer started, I was now truly unemployed for the first time in my life. At first, things went well at home. Whether I slept all day or actually did some chores, he was always as sweet as ever with me when he got home from work. I personally felt awful as a past workaholic who now couldn't even bring myself to leave bed until 5 p.m. on some days, whilst also bringing no money in. But it was a necessary evil. However, he began to gradually change his demeanor. Now, I blame a lot of this on us simply getting more comfortable with living together. We are both horrible procrastinators who easily fall into absolute apathy about chores. This wasn't news to anyone. But at first, we tried so much harder to be better for each other's sakes. Love makes you fight for others when you couldn't fight for yourself, my friends. But after a while, it felt like I had to do whatever needed to be done myself, or else no one would. He stopped texting to check if we needed groceries on his way home from work, stopped helping with the dishes or taking the trash out, things he'd been amazing with before, much better than I was. He still cooked most of the time because I tend to feel stressed about cooking for him since he's the pickier eater of the two of us, but most other things I took the biggest load of. And I tried to tell myself that it was only fair given my situation, so I often disregarded my own burnout. We were supposed to go on a trip that summer, my birthday present to him, and all I asked of him to help me with was to give me dates for it so it didn't clash with anything. Summer came and went. He never gave me any reply other than I don't know. But at the same time, he had all the time in the world for other things, like making his home brewed beer, going fishing, playing on the computer, binge watching old shows. And the fishing trips were a whole other can of worms, pun intended.
It's the worm queen.
He would leave as soon as he was out of bed, showered, and dressed, meet up with some coworkers to go fishing, then not be home until around 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Some days he was literally gone for a full 12 hours. Only once did he bring fish home to cook. The other times he let the other guys take what they caught. He'd also text on his way home to ask what I wanted for dinner, as if I hadn't already sorted my own food out by then. Yeah, I was like, what time does he get him at? 10 p.m. is
8 to 10. That's a late dinner.
This would often be happening multiple days each week during his whole vacation. And even when he got back to work, it didn't ease up. In fact, one week he told me they may go again after work on Friday. He then texted me on Friday to say that he got off early. I thought we'd then have some time together before he left, but no. How foolish of me. He spent that time hurrying home to shower and change so he could quickly leave again. Then on Saturday, he says to me that he was thinking of fishing again and turned it around as, I thought I should give you some alone time, as if I had anything but alone time lately. They had to cancel, so what do? Go fishing Sunday instead. Awesome. When summer ended without our trip booked, without ever being invited to go fishing with them, without even going swimming, I breathed a sigh of relief. At least the fishing was over, but I was sorely mistaken in thinking that our lives could go back to normal. It seems like OP was going through a really hard time, quits job, and then is kind of going through this like depression of not being able to go out, not being able to do things, sleeping a lot longer. And then instead of communicating with OP about this, he just kind of started distancing himself.
I don't want to make this just about the job, but I feel like I would be upset if my partner that I was married to just like quit their job without consulting me for 1 second.
No, I think that like OP has done a lot of things here that would warrant being upset and being angry over, but I think it's just like neither of them are communicating with each other about it. Because
guys, we need to communicate.
I think I'm very adamant about you don't want to morph your relationship into one being, one person, one mindset. Like you need to be your own separate people, but you do need to communicate here.
Again, his beer brewing is also a great big priority. Bottles and accessories for it take up our home, and I constantly trip over his boxes of stuff. He sometimes makes something that only I would like, which is sweet, but I never asked him to. Yet he will ask for my help with bottling and such, and often makes it seem like this hobby is for both of us. Then there's the gaming. At the moment, he can spend a whole day off from work at his computer, either gaming and on and off talking to a friend in common or just watching videos on YouTube, often about his other hobbies. He even stays up late at night at any opportunity he gets, even though he knows that he will sleep poorly on Sunday and be cranky about work on Monday, and he always works early. Even when he comes home from work, this is where you'll find him, often not even asking if I have any dinner planned out until it's already about time to get cooking. He spends so much time in that chair now that my pet tortoise, who has her enclosure next to his desk, keeps checking there to see if he's home or not, then proceeds to be upset that he is not in his spot while he works. Now I am starting to work again, slowly, but it stresses me out to imagine working full-time and still trying to keep our household functioning, let alone imagining us with a house of our own or a child. He wants me to work, so it's not like we have an arrangement where I'm meant to handle all of this. I'm just slowly turning into his mother, it feels like. Like how I have to keep teaching him how recycling his trash works at the age of 30. How does this man not know how to recycle?
A lot of people don't know how to recycle.
But we finally reached the
America.
part where I admit my fault. I am far from free of them, but my dear friends. I grew up in a household with a lot of conflict and fighting. And him and I have, to this day, never had a real fight before.
Yeah.
That tracks. You guys don't communicate. So anytime I get upset and riled up, I find myself pushing it down before I explode on him. Why? Both of them are just upset at each other and will never say anything.
And that's the recipe to a perfect relationship.
Yeah.
Is
You guys are breaking up just really slowly. I keep meaning to bring things up in a calm manner as soon as there's a better time for it when I'm less upset, but I keep being distracted by just how much I love him, as well as frightened over the fact that I don't even know what our fighting dynamic might look like. You might be into more full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or iHeartRadio and search a book of story time. There is just a teeny tiny bit left of this story, and it doesn't seem like we're going to get any communication in this.
that would be my only
Yeah.
advice. would
Yeah,
be,
my advice is
Y'all need to
communicate.
start talking about the things that you don't want to talk about.
Yeah. I feel like OP, you're operating from, oh, well, I'm burnt out and I'm, was going through a really hard time. And so I had to quit my job. I had to do this. But it seems like your partner is also going through maybe maybe not equally, but like also a hard time. Like he's staying up late watching, videos and not going to sleep later and later. He's spending time away from you and the home. It seems like he's going through something and you haven't asked him what's going on.
This is what OP looks like. It's like, oh my God, he goes fishing, he ignores me, but
he's like,
God,
I love
him
him so much, so I'm not going to ask him why he's sad. It also feels so awkward to be the person who brings something up, not the first time it happens, but the 20th. An ex of mine once berated me for that very reason, as he said I made him feel bad about allowing him to do something, then admitting to him later on that it made me uncomfortable. So would I be the a-hole if I told him that he lets his hobbies control too much of his life? Or should I simply find better ways to encourage him to also do other things in his spare time? I don't think either of those are the answer. I think both of those are not the roots of this conversation at all.
Yeah, the roots of the fruits are communication.
Yeah, I think you need to talk about how you guys are going to communicate effectively. My fiance wants to exclude my daughter from our wedding, but I refuse to budge.
Why, is your daughter really that cool?
I, 45 male, have a daughter, Polly, from a previous relationship. I divorced my ex-wife on good terms, and we share 50-50 custody of Polly. She is now 11. After I divorced my ex-wife, I met my now fiancée, Sharon. Sharon and my daughter got along very well. That's great. After 5 years in my relationship with Sharon, I proposed. By the way, this comes from Who Even Is That 5? And if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OK Storytime subreddit. Sharon was super excited and wanted to start planning right away. She looked at venues and started asking her friends to be her bridesmaids. She then told me she wanted her niece to be a flower girl, which I had no problem with, but I said I also wanted Polly to be a flower girl. Sharon looked at me funny and then said that she didn't think that Polly would fit the part.
The part of flower girl where it's a little girl who throws flowers?
What does that mean? What are you saying
Who
about
do you
that?
want? The Madonna? Like, what do you...
I got angry and told Sharon that my daughter would be in our wedding. Sharon started to become upset that the girls in the wedding were up to her and Polly wouldn't be one of them. I told Sharon that if Polly was in the wedding, then there might not be a wedding. Stand on business. I stormed out and took Polly to get ice cream. Polly knows we are getting married and told me she thinks she will look pretty in whatever dress Sharon decides she would wear. Oh, this broke my heart and I decided to text Sharon. I told her I would be staying at a friend's to think this over. My mother-in-law texted me saying I am overreacting and that my daughter doesn't have to be in my wedding. And I was an a-hole for saying that I would cancel.
Along came Polly.
So did I take it too far saying I will cancel? Am I overreacting or just being a good dad? And there are some relevant comments and an update, but what are your thoughts? Because I got a couple.
If you're literally spatting and being like, well, then I guess there won't be a wedding right before your wedding.
You probably
not
aren't
ready to get married to that
for a
person.
wedding.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
Just a thought. Y'all probably are not sturdy enough to get married in the first place.
Agreed. Man, oh man. I also just think that you should talk to her and ask her why she doesn't want Paul. Like, we should have a little bit more of a conversation.
Yeah, it's also just like weird that she doesn't want your kid to like
be like, what do you mean by that?
Be the flower girl in y'all's wedding. That doesn't. She got beef with Pauly D.
She got beef with a 10-year-old? Weird. But there are some comments. Did you propose alternatives to the flower girl position? OP says, I said I wanted her in the wedding in some shape or form. I wanted her to be part of the day and not sitting with the guests while we walked down the aisle. Fiance said it would be best if she just sat with my parents. Many have suggested a junior bridesmaid, but my fiance still declines. I did tell my fiance she will be in the wedding, and if that means she has to be a groomsman, then so be it. Fiance blew up saying she's not a boy, and my side's only for boys. She denied my request to have a father-daughter dance with Polly, so this is why I'm rethinking the whole wedding. She just kind of hates your daughter. Sharon and I are going to talk tonight, and hopefully she will give me a full reason. And then another commenter says, has Polly ever said anything about Sharon treating her poorly? OP says, Polly has never voiced any concerns about Sharon treating her badly. I have never seen anything happen between them, so this was very out of the blue. Surprisingly, Sharon has never had an issue with Polly until wedding talk. The two have always been super close, so her reaction shocked me for sure. I would have never popped the question if Polly wasn't comfortable. I totally understand where you guys are coming from. I do think it's crazy that I haven't seen any signs. I've talked to Polly and told her to tell me if anything has ever happened. Polly can't recall a single time Sharon was mean to her. And then another person says, could race, weight, or disability be a factor in this? And Opie says, yes, I made this post late last night, and I'm just now reaching all the comments. My daughter is not disabled. She's on the average weight scale for an 11-year-old, and all of us in the situation are white. And now she's 11.
She's become 11
she's even
now.
smarter. OP clarifies that his fiance is 39 years old, and there is an update. But what are your thoughts now that you've maybe grasped what's going on in
It's just so weird
story?
that you'd be like, no, future husband, my future daughter-in-law is not allowed to participate in the wedding
That's weird.
because of like vibes.
Her vibe is off.
Because the vibes would be off. It's like, dude, it's
Yeah.
my daughter.
and she's not tall enough to.
what a
She's
what a
up to. She comes up to
doofus.
here.
Person's being a real doofus. Okay.
Mhm. It's true. Talked to her mom this morning because I wanted Polly to start with her until this was figured out. Her mom said she hopes it goes well and told me I could stay with her and Polly if need be. She said Polly always comes home with nothing negative to say, so we aren't sure where this came from. OP has voted not the a-hole, and here's the big boy update.
Oh boy.
Strap in.
Oh big boy.
Thank you, everyone, for all the kind words. To answer a few questions, my daughter is not disabled, chubby, or having an awkward phase, braces, glasses. I did ask if Polly could be a groomsman. Sharon immediately shot me down. Sharon is 39. She's the same race as my daughter. This is her first marriage. I tried to answer as many comments as possible. I came home to talk to Sharon today. When I pulled in our driveway, my mother-in-law was sitting there in her car. I got out and went inside, trying to avoid talking to mother-in-law. Sharon was sitting at the kitchen table, and I joined her. She sat in silence, so I asked the first question. Why does Polly not fit the part? And why don't you want her in the wedding at all? Her answer full-on shocked me. What do you think it is?
She's going to be like, because I think she's a reptilian.
Whoa.
That's your answer?
That's going to be what she says.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, your daughter.
That's your answer?
I
Uh-huh,
saw her
sure.
second layer of eyelids one night, and it's never been the same since. Your
She
daughter's
was-
I will
reptilian.
bet you all of my money right now that that's not happening.
Oh, you think? You think, Keon? Really? How are you going to put me on blast like that?
I think that one night, stepmom goes into Polly's room to, give her a little kiss goodnight, tuck her in. Polly's in the corner, head full turned, crawling on the walls.
Ah, demon.
Mhm. She quietly said, I was hoping that after the wedding, you could become a holiday visit only dad.
What?
What?
Wait.
As in-
what?
She thought that OP could just stop seeing his daughter after they got married and just see her on like Christmas.
Yeah, so you're not getting married to this woman?
I didn't want her in the wedding so she wouldn't be in the photos around the house, and she wasn't going to be around much. I kept my cool, calmly took her hand, and pulled the ring off.
Wait, no, I need that one. No, give it.
Yes, it's mine. It's my precious ring.
Her eyes started to tear up. She said we shouldn't end the marriage over this and that she can change. I told her the damage was already done. I told her I wanted her things moved out by next week and that she could come get them when my daughter wasn't home. The house is in my name and I paid for it. I was allowing her to get her furniture that she paid for. She stormed out and mother-in-law came knocking on the door saying I was being unreasonable. I couldn't imagine only seeing my daughter 3 or 4 times a year. The fact that Sharon wanted me to give up part of my custody blew me away. I'm sitting on my couch, just in shock. Our honeymoon was supposed to be in Hawaii. Looks like me and Polly will be going instead. I will update again if anything happens. And there are some relevant comments and an update. So let's get into these relevant comments.
Let's go.
See how relevant they really are.
Let's get relevant.
People are once again skeptical that there was no bad behavior by Sharon toward Polly in the past. Opie says, I have truly never noticed a thing. Polly has never had anything negative about Sharon and asked her mom earlier today when she will get to see her again. But there is an update. Hello, everyone. Thank you for all the kind comments and suggestions for Hawaii. We did that a few days ago, and Polly is already having a ton of fun. Lovely. If you have any cool suggestions, please drop them in the comments. As for my ex-fiance, she has tried to reach out to me wanting to work everything out, saying she only did it because her mom wanted pure
Get
grandchildren.
out of
What?
here. What? Wow.
God, it gets worse.
So that entire family's crazy. Nice.
Pure.
I wanted them to be my children.
I still do not care if she really loved my daughter and if she wouldn't have acted on her mother's wishes. Sharon has called my workplace to try and get in touch with me. She has even shown up a few times to try and talk to me. And I've told my supervisor to just ask her to leave. She's gone as far as messaging my ex-wife a few times, wanting to know why her calls won't go through to me. When she caught wind that we were in Hawaii, she was pissed. I'm still close with her brother, and he told me that her and her mom were going to try and get plane tickets. Yoicks. If that's the case, I will likely file a restraining order.
Attaboy.
Polly has asked, what happened to Sharon? And I told her that we come as a package deal, and Sharon only wanted me, and I couldn't leave her. Polly understood, but I think she was a little heartbroken. I know this update is small, but it's all I have for those asking. And relevant comments. Did your former future brother-in-law have any light to shed on Sharon and his mom's behavior? Opie says her and her brother are not very close and grew up in different homes as my ex-mother-in-law and father-in-law are divorced. Her brother and dad are pretty awesome, though. We went and had drinks a few days after the storm of Sharon and her mom. And there is, I think, a final update. I realized I forgot to do an update. Polly and I had an epic time in Hawaii, and she's already talking about wanting to go back. Turns out when my ex-fiancé and her mom tried to buy tickets, the airlines were sold out. What a bummer for them. Instead, they decided to leave piles of letters at my door. There were maybe 50 envelopes full of pages about how I needed to take Sharon back. I honestly didn't read them and discarded most of them. So far, I've coincidentally run into Sharon at grocery stores and gas stations and not paid any attention to her. She attempted to show up at my daughter's meet the teacher night, but since she didn't have a kid, she wasn't allowed in. But you guys are allowed to listen and watch full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search Poke Storytime.
My take on this is 11 years old is old enough to know the truth, and you just make it clear that it's Sharon's fault and not Polly's. You know, Sharon decided, I guess she wanted me to abandon you, and I wasn't going to do that. That is not your fault. Sharon's fault, because she's a moron.
From what I have heard through her brother and dad, she already has a new boyfriend. That's wild. Yikes. And just wants to get back at me now. As for me, I put a restraining order on Sharon. I did see comments asking if I was going to attempt to date again. Let's just say I took my ex-wife with me to Hawaii and we decided to try again. Polly parent-trapped you. All in all, I'd say I don't expect to be hearing from Sharon or her mother again. And my ex-wife has now moved back in with my daughter and I?
Wait.
What?
Wow.
Didn't you? Dude, you gotta take that 50 times slower.
I'm leaving my fiance and his mother behind despite knowing they can't afford the rent.
Put them on the streets and let them fend for themselves. They will survive and learn some things about nature.
Throw away because my fiance follows my man. Me, female 29, and my ex, fiance, male 27, have been living together for 1.5 years. My fiance got his undergraduate degree, worked for a couple of years, and decided to get an MBA, which is how we ended up living in our city. By the way, this comes from Throwaway Move Away 129, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So we moved in together after he finished his MBA program. My fiance is from the Midwest, and his mom has always wanted him to move back to the Midwest. When he told her that he was staying here, she was heartbroken. I went to college and got my degree in a STEM field. After I graduated, I got a job with my current company and moved to the city where we currently live. It's a big international city with multiple locations in the US and internationally. I love my job. I love the company I work for, and the pay is pretty good. All in all, a pretty good deal. During the vid, my office shut down and we all went work from home. After the vid, they decided not to reopen the office, so I've been 100% work from home since early 2020.
Kind of sounds like a win.
Not bad.
Not bad, not bad.
I currently make considerably more than him.
All right, flex on him.
Mainly because I've been working for 7 years and I'm in tech. I had been living by myself in a 1-bedroom apartment and just had an office set up in the living room since it was just me. When we moved in together, we decided to get a 2-bedroom apartment so I could use the extra room as an office. Because of this, I was paying 2/3 of the rent. He was paying a 1/3 because but we split everything else 50-50. So the problem started this past May. My fiance's mom told him that she wanted to move to our city to be closer to him. She asked if she could stay with us while she looked for a job and got settled. She's a teacher, so she figured she'd be able to get a teaching job pretty quickly. Because of that, I didn't really mind her staying with us, as I figured it would be just for a couple of months over the summer. Since I thought it would be only for a couple of months, I moved my office into a corner of our bedroom, and my fiance bought a bed for the second bedroom. The problem is she never applied for any teaching positions and has been living with us for 6 months now. Opie says she and I have been really struggling with each other since she moved in. I can't make her understand that I work full time. She constantly interrupts me while I'm working, which is bad enough, but she interrupts me when I'm on team calls. She asks me to take her places because she doesn't like to drive in our city. She has pretty outdated views of gender roles and is constantly giving me a hard time for not doing more around the house and making my fiance help with chores, do his own laundry, etc. The constant criticism and insults are really wearing me down, and I hate having my office shoved in the corner of a bedroom. Back in September, I told my fiance, since it looks like his mom is going to stay a while, we should split the rent 3 ways. He told me she can't afford that since she has chosen to conserve money until she has a job. I told him I wasn't happy paying for a bedroom that I can't use.
OP's paying for it. Then he should pick up the slack.
Absolutely. So finally, he said we could do 50-50 split. I could afford to pay the extra, but I hate the idea of funding her lifestyle. Yeah, because it's not just the money, it's her overstepping. Every time I complain about her or the situation, he says he agrees, but doesn't know what to do because he can't punt out his mom.
Because he's a little mama's boy that can't even fold his own clothes.
My mommy just made some undies for me to wipe my tears because...
Boundary, grow up. Also, yeah, again, I think like every time that we've seen a guy that doesn't fold his clothes, that is the first red flag of many.
Right now, we need to swap boundaries for laundries.
Folding out your boundaries and folding up your laundry.
He won't talk to her about the way she treats me or how she behaves. When I ask about what his long-term plan is, he always says, I don't know.
Dude, he's a piece of laundry flowing in the wind.
I've thought about giving him an ultimatum to tell her that she has to leave, but I think he'd just end up resenting me for essentially putting his mom on the street. So one of my girlfriends is losing her roommate at the end of February. Our lease renews June 1st. I'm very strongly considering moving out of our current apartment and moving in with her.
I mean, it's gotten to that point.
I think it has.
OP has let her husband know, like, hey, I can't live in these conditions anymore. I got work. It's unclear whether she's had like the full conversation, but she's definitely brought it up to the husband a bunch of times. Husband has not made a plan. So I feel like OP has to make a plan. And I can't imagine that this moving out doesn't damage the relationship, you know?
It's not even necessarily an ultimatum, which is kind of nice. It's like, hey, look, I just need my space and everything else. I've been paying 2/3 of the rent, all this stuff. I just need to get my own space if you can't even talk to your mom.
I feel like this is more of a decision just for OP to be able to work and to be able to think. But I think in this space, she might realize this fiance might not need to turn into a husband.
OP says, I can afford to pay my part of the rent on our current apartment and also half the rent at my friend's apartment. It's not ideal, but I'm not a big spender, so it is doable. The issue is, if he and his mom aren't able to pay 1/3 of the rent each, there's no way they could cover the whole thing on their own. But I can't live like this anymore, so I'm pretty sure this is what I'll do. But I wanted to see if people thought I'd be the a-hole for leaving them like this. We have an update, but Sam, what is the verdict? Is OP the a-hole for doing this?
I don't think you go straight to divorce, or pre-divorce rather, but I do think you take this move. I think pumping the brakes for sure on whatever wedding is impending and letting OP figure out his mom's situation maybe on his own, because it seems like he's just been kicking down the can and he's just been like, oh, OP will cover it. Do you want to be in a relationship like that?
And I think like OP, Loki kind of has to do something like this to make him see like, this is really affecting me. Like, I literally want to move out to have my space back because of this situation.
I'm thinking, nah.
Like, don't marry?
Don't marry. Hold off the wedding.
And also, OP's not the a-hole for doing this. I think kind of a elegant solution. Well, we have an update. I started off trying to reply to everyone's comments and keep up, and honestly, I got overwhelmed. First off, I want to thank everyone for their feedback and comments, even the ones that were kind of a bit harsh. Actually, probably especially the ones that were kind of harsh. I really needed some tough love to make me realize that I was letting my soon-to-be ex and his mom take advantage of me. The more comments I read, the more pissed off I got. Honestly, I think I'm more pissed at myself for allowing this to happen and not advocating for myself more, which it's tough, but hey, you reach that point and you're like, okay, let me advocate for myself and recognize, what's fair for you. This past weekend, I got my soon-to-be ex alone so we could talk, which was actually harder than it should have been because his mom always tries to tag along when we do anything.
Dude, you don't have a relationship anymore. You have a throuple with your mom.
That is unfortunately true.
And again, everyone was getting on my case about saying mama wants a piece. But do you see what's happening now? Mama is getting her piece.
Mama wants a whole cake.
Mama wants a whole cake. She is moving in on this relationship. And not just in the house, but on this relationship too. You got to get that fiending dog away from your relationship.
I've been going through everyone's comments and the personal messages people sent that really helped me decide on how I should approach this. And also brought up a lot of good questions I should have thought of myself. But back to the discussion with my ex. I wanted to give him one more chance to pick us over his mom. Not because I thought he would, but because I wanted to be able to tell myself I gave him the opportunity. I like that.
It's like not an ultimatum, but it is an ultimatum.
I explained again how unhappy I am with the situation, how it's affecting my work because of her constant interruptions, and how unhappy and uncomfortable I am being forced to work out of a corner in our bedroom. And I reminded him that until a few months ago, I was paying the majority of the rent and that I make so much more money than him.
Dang, dude, slap it down.
That it's really my salary keeping us afloat. I also brought up again the way she treats me and talks to me. He replied the same way he always has been. He agrees it's not right how she acts and that it's really uncomfortable for all of us. What the F? I don't care if she's uncomfortable. Previously, I would have dropped it there. But this time, I told him how angry and disappointed I was that he let me pay for 2/3 of the rent when she moved in and how unfair it was that I'm still paying half when there are 3 people living there and she's the only one with her own bedroom.
That is a good point.
OP wanted to be like, hey, there's 3 people, let's split it 3 ways. So OP's like, oh, I want to pay 33%. And then fiance's like, no, pay 50% still. We could literally track the percentages. She's literally been giving way percentage more. I got the same story. She has to conserve monies and she doesn't have any income currently, which brought up the question of where all her stuff went when she moved and what money she uses for incidentals. So evidently, when she got divorced, she asked for the divorce after my ex went to college. It doesn't sound like her husband / my ex's dad wanted the divorce. His dad bought her out of the equity in their house, and my ex-fiance didn't have any idea how much that was or how much of it is left. But until she moved here, she was working full-time as a teacher and living in a small apartment, so she should not have had to tap into the divorce settlement money very much.
Where's the money? You should be using that money to pay your fair share instead of just mooching.
Now, other than that, X didn't have much insight into her finances other than what she told him, that she has to conserve money. I told him straight up that I'm moving out before the end of the month. And from now on, I am only paying 25%. As some commenters pointed out, she has a whole bedroom while I have to share with a man-child, so she should have to pay twice as much.
I see OP turning. She's saying man-child. She's getting out.
My question is, why are we still at 25%? I guess she's like, oh, like I agreed to do the lease and there's like that good faith or whatever. But it's like, dude, he did this to himself. Pay 0% until you're willing to actually work on this. And I'll gladly come back if we can like get her out or like do something. I'm paying 0% and living with my friend.
Yeah, I mean, is it this 25% would be when they would even renew that she would be on the lease for?
Basically, the situation is like, so OP moves in with her friend. She keeps paying 25% towards their old apartment. I'm like, pay 0%.
Let them figure it out. Get a new apartment that's a lot cheaper. Let them get a 1-bedroom.
Yes, he created this problem, so he's going to have to solve it.
And then maybe once he cleans it up, he will become the man that is deserving of a relationship with you. But right now, he's not that man, and he has not cleaned up one little thing. Expect more from your men. Put the bar a little higher.
On to the next part. After I move out, I'm not paying for anything else. No utilities, no food, no nothing other than the rent, the 25%. I have a pretty good idea of what his finances are like. And if he has to pay 75% of the rent all by himself, it's going to take a huge chunk of his net income. And after he pays utilities and buys groceries, there won't be anything left for incidentals. Rent was due on the 1st, but it's not late until it's on the 5th, so he has 2 days to come up with the shmoney. If he doesn't come up with it and I end up covering, then I will reduce the amount I pay in future months. She's like, if I do pay extra to help cover you today, I'm going to take that out of what I'm paying in the future.
We're progressing towards zero, which is good.
The only reason that I'm going to keep paying any of the rent is that even after I move out, I'm still on the hook. I talked to the leasing office and they explained that since X and I signed a single rental agreement together, i.e. one contract we both assigned as opposed to 2 separate contracts we signed individually, we are both responsible for the rent. If he doesn't make the rent, OP could face the consequences. They don't care who actually pays it as long as it gets paid. The only alternative would be if he agrees to sign a new lease by himself or together with his mom.
But you know what? Let him go get a crappy apartment. Also, like, is this not a turnoff? I'm confused. Why are you holding on to this relationship? This is like the biggest red flag of all time. Like, what does he have here?
I think OP gave him the big chance. She's like, all right, I'm going to move out. It had been 3 months overdue. She's like, let me lay it all out one final time. There comes that point where you're like, you got to call it at some point.
Maybe he's the nicest, best in bed guy ever, and that's what's clouding your judgment right now. But again, don't let that cloud your judgment from the facts of like, this is not an adult man that I think you can have an adult relationship with. That is a teenage boy that can't fold his own clothes. Needs his mommy around.
I wholeheartedly agree. But in all likelihood, he wouldn't be able to pass a credit check on his own for getting a lease. So I am kind of stuck here. I don't think he'll do anything stupid, though, because he's going to need to find some place to live after this, and a collection on his credit report would not be good. I also told him that I'm going to go find some place to work during the day until I move so she can't bother me. My friend I'm moving in with said that I could work there during the day since she and her current roommate have in-person 9-to-5s. I took her up on that for now. After living with his mom, I'm not about to overstay my welcome, so I'm going to find some other options that I can rotate through. Someone suggested checking out the public library, or if it comes to it, I'll get a membership at one of those co-working type spaces. Just in case, I brought my important papers, files, valuables, and my friend is storing them for me until I move in. So you might be thinking, Sam Keanu, what about fiance? How do you think he's handling it? Like a champion?
No, like a little baby.
He's like, you're gonna critique me?
So he really didn't take it well. The surprising thing to me is that he was surprised by everything. He seemed really shocked that I wasn't prioritizing his mom and everything. I really got the feeling that he sincerely believed that I wanted to take care of her as much as him. And he kept saying stuff like, well, what about my mom? What am I going to tell her? That's how she is. But we still need to help her.
We've been prioritizing her for the last 6 months. How about prioritizing us? You're not going to have a wife to be if you keep prioritizing mama.
So he asked about our relationship and the engagement. I told him after I move out, I need some space from him. In a few months, when we've both had some time and space to process about what happened, if we both agree, we can then talk about our relationship. But he'd have to prove that he's going to have my back going forward and will set boundaries with his mom. I told him that just to avoid more drama, but I don't see a future in which we are together.
I like that. I think giving the people that you are close to the opportunity to change generally is a good idea, even though that opportunity may set them up for failure, which I think is what's going to happen in this case.
I told him that he needs to tell his mom because she's not my responsibility or problem, and she'll know something's up when I start moving my stuff out. Mom doesn't even know yet. He hasn't told her what's going on yet, but this weekend, I'm going to start moving my things. So my friend's current roommate starts a new job in another state on the 3rd. So in reality, I can probably move in 2 to 3 weeks, just depending on when she actually leaves. I don't expect him to do anything bad other than sulk and complain. But if he does something stupid or doesn't pay his part of the rent, the ace up my sleeve is I'll tell the leasing office his mom moved in, which is prohibited in the lease.
There we go.
The point we've come to. So sad. Honestly, getting evicted would solve a lot of my problems right now, so it's a pretty valid threat, I think. By the way, if you think it's a valid threat that we have over 2,000 episodes, it's the most valid threat you've heard in your life. Because if you go to Spotify, Apple, or your favorite pod app, you're going to experience all 2,000 episodes of that goodness for your ear holes.
Blasted into your brain. Imagine a fire hose, your open brain and a fire hose of our voices for as long as you darn well please.
It'll never run out. Opie says, now that I've mentally and emotionally separated myself from him and his mom, I'm looking forward to her reaction when he tells her what's going on.
If he tells her, it's like, yeah, why has OP's stuff moved? Oh, she's just spring cleaning.
And if things get too ugly, I'll find a cheap Airbnb or hotel or something. I've had some friends, including the one I'm moving in with, offer to let me couch surf for a few weeks, but I just can't do that to someone else. So that's it. I'm leaving, and I don't really care how it affects them. So it was kind of a crap show, but I've moved out, and I am off the lease. And future mother-in-law is on the lease now, and she and ex's dad are covering half the rent, and soon-to-be ex is covering the other half. Last week, I started working out of my friend's apartment, the one that I'm moving in with, so I didn't see ex's mom on Monday. Tuesday around lunch, she sent me a text asking where I was. I told her I was working and I'd be home late tonight. She replied that ex told her that I wasn't going to be contributing as much, so she had to loan him money for the rent. That wasn't a surprise to me, so I just replied with a emoji. I had plans with my friend and her roommate, who I'm also friends with, to go out for dinner and then get some drinks, so by the time I got home, it was after midnight and my ex's mom was already asleep. The fun started Wednesday morning. I was getting ready to go to work at my friend's place when my ex's mom stopped me and said that we need to discuss my financial situation. Then she went on a whole tirade about her having to cover my part of the rent and me making foolish choices by going out to dinner when I couldn't even pay the rent. I was irresponsible with my money and inconsiderate of the impact it had on others. Blah, blah, blah. She went on to say that if she was going to have to pay my share of the rent, that she expected me to do a better job of keeping on top of chores and keeping the apartment clean and organized. I told her that I was moving out since obviously soon-to-be ex hadn't told her yet. She seemed, I don't know, pleased with herself. All she had to say was, maybe that's for the best. There's one thing they can agree on.
I wonder, is the mom intentionally trying to sabotage this relationship?
I mean, it's a mama's boy, obviously.
When I got home that night, right off the bat, she wanted to talk. She said instead of me moving out, we could get a bigger apartment and she'd be willing to help by paying the difference between a 2-bedroom to 3-bedroom. Then we could go back to the arrangements ex and I had before she moved in, me paying 2/3 of the balance and him paying 1/3.
She's like, all right, I have a solution. Let's get a bigger place where you still pay for 2/3.
She's like, hey, you know how you're only paying like $1,500 right now? I'm willing to help, but let's make you pay $2,000 now.
Also, I want 2 rooms. I'm so glad OP's leaving. You cannot marry someone who has a monster-in-law if they don't put boundaries up against the monster.
When she was saying this, I think my brain vapor locked. She was making it sound like she was doing us a favor by offering to pay the increase in the rent. But apparently, this man-child who tells his mom literally every single thing about our lives and relationship hadn't bothered to tell his mom about how much I was actually contributing. It seems like once she discovered that X wasn't paying for everything like she thought, she wasn't as excited about me moving out. He also was like, oh, I'm covering.
Dude, send him away. Hey, at the very least, we found more reasons that we shouldn't be in a relationship.
I tried to be polite, and I told her I'd already given notice to our apartment complex that I was moving out at the end of the month and already committed to move in with my friend. She kept pushing the issue and said if she was willing to pay the difference, I should just stay because that would really be best for everyone. By then, I was getting annoyed and told her that because of the way she had been acting and treating me, I had no interest in living with her anymore. That's when the best line of this whole dumpster fire came out of my mouth. She said that she was worried I was taking advantage of her son.
Get out of here.
We're using our therapy right now, our meditation, to stay calm and centered on this one. And if we had told her about our financial arrangement, she would have had been more understanding of why I wasn't keeping up with the apartment. I told her maybe a good lesson from this is to try being nice to everyone in the future and not just the people you think you can help you.
Why don't you take your own advice?
And I asked her why she didn't help out more since she didn't do anything productive all day. She did not like either of those comments.
The apple does not fall from the tree.
And it got pretty hostile with both of us yelling at each other. And to be fair, we both said some pretty awful things to one another. Finally, I told her I was going to inform the rental office that she had been living there contrary to the lease agreement because getting evicted would be worth it to see her living on the street. I grabbed my laptop and went to my friends. I didn't even bother packing an overnight bag.
Does that get a little bit too much, the living on the street thing? I think like we don't want her living on the street, but we do want OP away from it. And if she is going to live on the street based on this, that is her own fault.
But next Thursday, my ex texted me and said that he had added his mom to the lease effective the first of the month, and that she and his dad, I have no idea how that poor man got roped into this, would pay half the rent and my ex would pay the other half. I confirmed it with the property manager that I was off the lease and that I didn't have any further obligation. I got it in email, so I have a record. Important in writing. I put disconnect orders in for the utilities under my name and told him to call and set up accounts under his name for those. I'm going to lose the damage deposit. It goes to whoever is living there when the lease ends, but it's a small price to pay to be free. On the way home, I stopped and got a bunch of boxes to pack my stuff up. She was pretty hostile when I got home, and when she saw how much I was taking, she got worse.
My son bought everything in this house.
He told me over and over. I ended up taking Friday off to finish packing and Saturday to get some friends to help move some stuff into my new place. I'm going to pay my friends some rent for the next 2 weeks until when I move out. They didn't want me to, but I'm not going to stay in someone's home and not contribute. OP's like, I am not going to become the monster I've run from. If nothing else, living with X and his mom taught me that. Last night, X and I got together and started talking for the first time since Saturday. He said his mom is staying until June when the lease is up, and then she's moving back to their hometown. This was all for nothing.
No, dude, it was not. This was all her plan from the very beginning. From the very beginning, she just wanted her little boy to not be with this lady, not be with OP, and she played her cards brilliantly. This mom ruined a relationship, but honestly, good. I mean, she exposed some terrible things about the relationship. So kind of a win-win. What a freaking masterclass in manipulation on the mom's side. Insane.
Now, according to him, she just really didn't like living here, and that's why she didn't try to find a job. Then he asked how long a break I thought we should take. Have you heard of this thing called infinity? A few commenters gave me a hard time for stringing him along, so I was brutally honest and told him that I could not be with someone that allowed others to treat me the way he allowed his mom to treat me, and that I hope he learned to stand on his own and establish some boundaries.
This is a good learning lesson that he can take into if he has another relationship ever.
Use your noodle. The one upstairs, my friend. He looks like he was going to cry and just got up and left. As far as I'm concerned, this whole thing is over and done. I'm going to call it a learning experience and be glad that I found out how awful X's mom is before we got married. The thing that amazes me is the amount of damage this woman leaves in her wake and how utterly oblivious she is. She destroyed our engagement and relationship, is leaving X in a much worse financial situation, pushed back her ex-husband's retirement by I don't know how many years, since he now has to likely pay off the mortgage or get a second mortgage that he needed to do to pay off her half of the equity. Basically, he had to dump a bunch of money to buy her out of the house. I don't blame you. You just bought your piece, my friend. And she made my life hell for 6+ months. And she's walking away completely unscathed. According to my ex, she's going back to her hometown and just picking up her old teaching job. I'm thinking about going to visit my parents next week and working from their house. I want to tell them how boring and undramatic they are and how much I'm grateful for that and how much I love them for it.
And that's where it ends. That kind of ended exactly how we would have wanted it. We put up boundaries. We communicated clearly and effectively with honesty, even about the hard stuff. And it got you in a better situation, OP, away from this man-child and this monster-in-law. That is where that story ends.
My fiance's brother and his girlfriend called us disrespectful because we got engaged without their permission.
I don't need your permission.
I, 24 female, have been with my partner, 25 male, for 1 year. At New Year's, we got engaged, and we're so happy. We have a wonderful relationship, and everything seemed to be falling into place like a fairy tale. He gets along really well with my mom, and I get along really well with his. By the way, this comes from user Throwaway They Nuts. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, unfortunately, my partner, we shall call Mark, has an older brother, 26 male. We shall call him Rick, who has a girlfriend, 26 female, Penny. A month ago, Penny cornered Mark and basically told him he was making a terrible mistake by getting engaged to me and questioned whether he had thought it through.
Have you thought about the fact that no one asked for your opinion?
Close your mouth.
You're doing a lot of this. I want you to do this.
Penny questioned whether Mark had thought it through getting married to me. Why? Here are their reasons. 1. Mark should have asked Rick for brotherly guidance and permission before getting engaged because Rick is the older brother and has more experience with women. That doesn't make any sense. They seem to think it was disrespectful to get engaged without letting Rick know first. Number 2, Rick and Penny have been dating for 2 years. We have only been dating for 1 year. They're acting as if they should get the privilege of getting engaged first. Note, they are always on the verge of breaking up and constantly fight and have no intention of getting engaged anytime soon. 3, I currently don't have a job. I was employed full-time for 8 years, starting at 15. I had to stop working for a while due to medical issues. They say Mark is getting taken advantage of financially even though I'm on a pension and pay bills and rent, not to mention doing 100% of the washing, the cleaning, the ironing, the cooking, and the laundry. Number 4, we moved in together before they did. They currently live apart because Penny's family are very strict Christians, Pentecostals, but we are living together before they are, and therefore we are disrespecting them. 5, Penny said that she gets the feeling that I do not like her. This is 100% true. I don't like her at all, but I've tried to keep this to myself as much as possible so as not to rock the boat or cause friction. I didn't want to upset Mark or his brother. I tried to believe that she wasn't unlikable or that I had misinterpreted it, but after 12 months of continuous witchiness, I don't think this is the case. Here are some of the reasons why I dislike Penny. Number 1, she has continuously made comments about my weight. I'm not skinny, but neither is she. Yet she seems to think that it's okay to make comments about what I eat and what I wear. She even made comparisons between me and Mark and Rick's mother, who is large. Not only is this insulting to me, but it's insulting to their mother, who I get along with very well. Number 2, she comes from a giant, strict Pentecostal family. She basically believes that divorce is evil, and because my parents are divorced, I get the impression that she sees me as less of a person.
Oh, I see her as less of a person because she's mean.
I see you as a creature from the Black Lagoon. Mark and Rick's parents are also divorced, and she has voiced her opinion of them as well. She said that it was their mother's duty to do what her husband says and to keep the family together. Never mind why they divorced. That's just her view. That's a trash view to have. Number 3, she also has 8 sisters and a brother. I am an only child. She told me that only children are mentally underdeveloped because they don't get the same mental stimulation. I have never once heard this in my entire life. Number 4, before even meeting me, she went onto Mark's Facebook and looked through my photos, and in front of Mark called me ugly and made ew, gross comments, and then told him to stop dating me. Is she Jimmy Hoffa? Because I'm about to make her disappear. Number 5, whenever I see Mark's family for lunch or afternoon tea, I bring a plate of something. I think it's good manners. If I'm going somewhere for a meal, I think it's polite to bring something along to share. Penny has made several comments to me about trying too hard and trying to outdo her. Number F, which I think me, a free spirit who's going on adventures, and you, who stays at home all day and eats.
Me, a person who minds their own business.
You, a creature from the Black Lagoon, and me, a kung fu master who can put their fist through your solar plexus.
You, a tiger who's escaped from the most guarded prison in the world, and me, a kung fu master named Po.
Number G, she talked in a baby voice all the time. It's not anything that against me, but you put Jesus on me.
Me, a free spirit who goes on adventures, and you, who stays at home and eats. Is that how she said that?
Rick likes to pull the brother's honor card and says that as an older brother, he should do things first and be in charge. What are you, 5? I think this is ridiculous, as they are a year apart and their lives and where they want to go in life are completely different to one another. Mark is very passive and pretty much does whatever people tell him to do because he doesn't want to cause a stir or offend people. He's a very kind and easygoing person, which I love, but at times he's too easygoing to the point where he gets pushed around and taken advantage of, and I feel like they know this and are using it to their advantage. He has a red flag girl, jellyfish spine. We don't like it.
You just got to get him away from these people.
When I move, you move. When I push, you pull. When you say bad stuff to me, I say stop it. Mark and Rick's mother is lovely, and I get along with her really well. She is in a tough position because it's her two sons fighting, and she has to be careful not to look like she's ganging up on one or the other. She said she cannot commit to taking sides, which I totally agree with, but she is basically 100% on our side off the record.
If you're on someone's side off the record, just get on the record, man. Why can't you be on the record? Because I've had people be like, I'm on your side off the record. Get on the record. End your neutrality.
Penny has said a lot of nasty things to her as well, so she's not unaware of the sort of person she is. After cornering Mark and telling him everything that I mentioned above, Mark came home to me, understandably, very upset. When he came home and told me what had happened, I was furious and hurt. I was so angry that they had behaved like that, and so angry because of how upset Mark was. It has been a month, and they seem to think they did everything right and are totally blameless. Mark has spoken on the phone with his brother, and it has ended in arguments. I have zero contact with them. And if I had my way, it would remain this way. I have lost all respect for the both of them, and I have no desire to have them around. Unfortunately, it is Mark's brother, and he feels we need to sort things out with them. So this Easter weekend, we've planned to catch up so we can talk to them about how it made us feel and why they have overstepped their boundaries.
Talk about our feelings.
Oh, you want to talk about your feelings?
How about the feeling of my fist in your face?
So we are apparently seeing them tomorrow, and I feel sick to my stomach about it. I know that Mark keeps telling me that he is 100% on my side and supporting me, but it doesn't always feel that way because even though they've been so hurtful and nasty, he's trying too hard to be chummy with them when they do speak. Yeah, can we stop being chummy with people?
Why do we got to be chummy with people who are bad to us?
I agree. Why do we have to do that? To me, this is making them think that they've behaved correctly and that me being upset is all my fault and I'm overreacting. I feel like he wants to bury his head in the sand and pretend nothing has happened, but I just cannot do that. I am scared that when we meet them, I will be a sitting duck and get attacked by them, and anything I say about how I feel will be shot down, just like a goose, while Mark sits there and says nothing to support me because he doesn't want to get into an argument.
Hey, don't talk to my wife like that. I mean, my fiancé.
I don't want to get into an argument either, but it seems almost unavoidable. What can I say when we see them tomorrow? I feel like everything just whirls around in my head and I can't straighten any of it out. Write it down, baby girl. I don't believe that I will ever feel comfortable around them or want them over in our home. Can anyone give me a different perspective? Sorry for the rambling, and we have an update. So my perspective would be clearly your siblings have like a weird complex about like your brother needs to be the first guy to get married and to whatever. Like that is all nonsense. If you and your partner love each other and want to get married right now, there is no reason, there is no bro code, there is no brother law that would prevent you from doing that. So don't listen to them. They're behaving like 5-year-olds. Sophia?
Bite them.
Whole complete spectrum of takes there. We got a nuanced opinion and bite them. Update. This really blew up more than I expected it to. So, when I left you guys yesterday, Mark and I were going to meet Poisonous Penny and Rick the Wiener to talk. In the morning, I was getting ready to leave. Makeup, hair, all that good stuff. Mark popped down to the local supermarket to grab some Easter eggs to give to his mom and grandma. I had my phone on the bathroom bench and it started to ring. It was Rick. I didn't pick up because he has never called me and I didn't know what to do or say. Pretty much the same procedure as every other phone call. I texted Mark and told him, and he rang me immediately and said, for God's sake, if they ring again, don't pick up. They've just blasted me in the middle of the grocery aisle, so don't pick up. Mark was shopping and got a call from Rick's number. He picked up and they were both on loudspeaker.
Oh no, not in the grocery store. You can't have a fight like that on the grocery store. That's like that pig from Sing doing a whole dance number in the grocery store.
Penny seemed very agitated and asked something about when we were meeting. Mark said that if they were not going to be in good moods, it might not be the best to meet. We could just rearrange to another time when they were all calm. She blasted him with calling us both cowards who were hiding and sarcastically telling him he was such a big man. Oh yeah, you're such a big man. Obviously, we didn't go to meet them. Last night, I got a message on Facebook from Penny saying, OP, it's time you confront the issues you have with me. There's been a lot of talk about you being upset with me, but I haven't heard a single thing about it come directly from you. From now on, if you have a problem with me, take it up directly with me. It's not fair on Mark's family to have to deal with your issues. It's very distressing for them. You're going to get bit. Unfortunately, I didn't see the message until this morning when she also sent, I'll come to you to sort this out. I can come over to your house if that suits you. Don't let her bite you. You bite her. First off, no, coming to my house certainly doesn't suit me. As if I would let her come into my home. Secondly, since when was this just about me? Yes, she has been worse to me than to Mark, but she still has been a total witch to the both of us regarding our relationship. I replied, Penny, I think both Mark and I are fully justified for not wanting to speak with you, considering your behavior. You have been rude and offensive at every opportunity, and quite frankly, we have both had enough. I have avoided messaging you directly up till now out of respect to Mark, as we are both involved in this together, and he does not want me to blast you with a torrent of abuse. You did. You dropped the torrent. I was so furious with you and Rick at your behavior. You both need to grow up and learn respect for others. Yesterday, your behavior was yet again childish. I was ready to leave to finally meet you and give you a piece of my mind when Mark came home saying the whole thing was off because you screamed down the phone at him. How big of you. As for coming over to my house, I do not think so. You've criticized everything about me. Oh yes, Penny, I'm well aware of what you've said behind my back, thank you. And if you think I'm inviting you into my home, you have another thing coming. When you and Rick decide to behave like adults, you know where we are, and until then, don't talk to me. Don't come by my house. I have better things to do with my time. By the way, if you have pride in our show, you can listen to full episodes with stories like this. All you got to do is go to iHeartRadio or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. Search OK Storytime, and there you will find a complete archive. 1,200 hours. I know it's hot-headed, but I just couldn't help it. I just can't believe what a nutter she is. Sweet Jeebus. She seems to think that it's all just me being uppity, but it involves all of us. Even though I feel I've been attacked more than Mark, Mark is just as hurt as I am. The only good thing to come out of all this is that Mark is now really pissed. I felt like although he said he was there for me before, he was in doubt and wanted to sit on the fence for a bit. But now that she's blasted him directly, he's got his back up too. And that is the end of the story.
Biter.
My conclusion is get married and don't even associate with these psychos anymore. They're terrible and they're irrational. And bite them. Bite their ankles.
My ex-friend tried to get my husband deported. Now she wants my help?
Deportation is where I draw the line. No help after that.
That's where I don't help you anymore.
Before, it's cool.
I, female 26, am white, and my fiance, male 31, is originally from Japan, but has pretty much been living here in the States since he was 13, and yes, is a U.S. citizen. I also have a group of friends from college, and in that group was a woman who we'll call Karen, female 25, who was the sister of our friend who I will call Ruth. By the way, this comes from Haley CZCT, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, Ruth, who was genuinely a nice person, was our friend, but her sister Karen was the golden child sibling who only hung out with us because she, Karen, cannot maintain IRL friendships of her own, in part due to her antisocial tendencies, and their mom pretty much pushed us to let Karen hang out with us since Karen was jealous of Ruth having real friends, and we only tolerated Karen because of Ruth, who also didn't really want Karen hanging out with us. Dang. When Ruth moved here to the Northeast for college from Mississippi, Karen also followed her, and their mom pushed Ruth to let Karen stay with her. Unlike the five of us, Karen did not go to college with us. Wait, she was just like living with y'all?
Oh, just like chilling?
She's like, hey guys.
Hey guys. So like, what are you doing? I'm like, we're going to class. She's like, I don't.
That's fun.
I don't do that.
You guys should stay. Scoffed at the idea of higher education, and the only thing she knew were what she saw online or whatever her boyfriend of the day was into. Over the years, since gradually becoming more and more hateful towards the LGBT Jews, and immigrants. Bear in mind that my mom is an immigrant from the Czech Republic. Thus, we kind of started distancing ourselves from her after first noticing it at around 2020 or so. Ruth unfortunately passed away in 2023 after a biking accident. What?
Oh my. I didn't. Wow. That's tragic all of a sudden.
Oh my God. But we continued to allow Karen to hang out with us because of pity, I guess. But a couple in our group outright cut her off after Ruth's passing, while the rest of us just tried to gradually distance her, hoping she'd get the message or get bored and stop trying to contact us. However, the breaking point was on October last year when Karen reported my fiance to ICE because she thought or wanted to believe he was an undocumented migrant. And when we confronted Karen, the conversation boiled down to that she felt it was wrong for me as a white woman to be with an Asian man, and she felt that white girls like me should be with men who look like me, and she felt uncomfortable with how my family is very welcoming and accepting of my fiance.
So she's a moron.
So not only is she just
And a
like
bigot.
hateful and ignorant, she's like literally was like tried to get an American citizen deported.
And she's like, I don't know, I just felt like it. And I was
She was like, it just doesn't seem right. So I called ICE.
this is why we shouldn't pity hang out with people. If they're awful people, just don't hang out with them. You can be like, hey, I'm so sorry for your loss.
I think there's a range. I think she's on the
She's on the far end of the
great
range.
extent of the range.
That is true. That is true. I come from a very liberal upper middle class family, and we'd often take my fiance out with us on family outings, be it at our family's vacation home in Lake Champlain or sailing to Block Island on my grandpa's yacht. Dang. That said, Karen felt that someone of my status should be with someone who looked like me.
These words.
Why are we talking to Karen?
Why is she still here?
Why is she still here? You have no connection to her that is like strong enough to have her continue to be around.
Well, if they're still friends with her after that
would be crazy.
I'm like, that's on you.
They're like, oh, Karen, you
They're
know
like,
how
Karen,
she is.
just Karen. She's like, she got
Always
tried to deport my American citizen
always
fiance.
deporting people's fiancés.
That's just Karen. She tried 5 last week. Like, what?
That she plainly said she wanted to my fiance deported so she could try hooking me up with the brother of her then boyfriend. Mind you, her then boyfriend, with whom she has a kid with, and his brother are misogynists who constantly share Andrew Tate interviews, can't hold the job for very long, yet expect women to stay home and know their place, whereas my fiance works in mental health and I work for my grandpa's law firm. After that, the rest of us told her to F off, and up until the last week or two, we've gone no contact with her.
Good.
Makes sense. That makes sense.
That does make sense.
That said,
Oh.
after her boyfriend left her and their son, she showed up at my door with her baby one day to demand that since my family is well off, I should help her buy her groceries and ask my grandpa to give her a job since her EBT card wasn't working and her now ex vanished. I reminded her of how she tried to get my fiance deported and how I'm not her friend, so she should F off. Apparently, she's also been badgering others in our friend group, and her mom even called me, telling me off for not helping Karen and trying to justify what Karen did by saying, she was just doing what's best for you.
So the mom was like, she had a point.
She had a freaking girl. I mean, are we really surprised that her mom is crazy, seeing as she was the one who was pushing Ruth to make to include Karen and everything?
But Ruth seemed pretty cool.
Yeah, Ruth is cool, but I'm not surprised that the mom is not.
I
Because she
feel
was
like
the one
that's
who
a
was
typical
like,
mom thing of like, oh, bring your sister with you. And she's
I
like,
know
I'm
she's
25.
racist, but bring her anyway. I then asked her that since she's Karen's mom, why doesn't she help Karen or take her back in? To which the mom said that her new husband doesn't like having Karen or her other kids around. I reminded Karen's mom that Ruth was our friend, but Karen is not, and we have no obligations to Karen. Sorry if this is long, but it pisses me the heck off. Correction, I previously incorrectly mentioned that her EBT card wasn't working due to the government. My bad, I assumed that EBT cards not working was somehow caused by Trump's executive order to freeze federal funding for certain programs, so I incorrectly mentioned that. I've never had to use SNAP or WIC, so I have no idea how these things work. And there is an update. But do you have any thoughts before we jump into this update?
It feels very straightforward.
It
It's
feels
like,
incredibly straightforward. It's just stop talking to Karen.
yeah, this ridiculous human is making a ridiculous request, and then her mom is
Also making
trying to
ridiculous
validate
requests.
the ridiculous request.
Yeah.
and she simply was like, no,
Update. All right. So in my last post, I, female 26, mentioned that a discriminatory former friend, who I will call Karen, tried to get my Japanese American fiance, male 31, deported, only for her to come back begging for help after her EBT card stopped working, her boyfriend ditching her, and her now being a single mom. Firstly, though, I would like to address a common question from my last post. Why did we tolerate Karen for as long as we did? We were friends with her older sister, Ruth, who went to college with us. Ruth was the kindest and nicest person most people would ever meet. But Karen, despite not going to college herself, traveled up here to the Northeast following Ruth because their hometown was boring. Basically, their mom wouldn't allow Ruth to have friends unless Karen was included, as Karen can't seem to maintain friendships or relationships of her own. Ruth, unfortunately, had trouble saying no to her controlling and manipulative mom. Hence, we tolerated Karen so we could continue having Ruth hang out with us. After Ruth passed away, we only tolerated Karen for a few more months, mostly out of pity. But even then, we were already trying to distance her from us by organizing get-togethers that didn't include Karen, not engaging Karen in conversation whenever possible, and basically hoping she got bored of us and would leave on her own. That didn't work, and admittedly, it was too passive. Also, I have no idea how EBT cards even work, hence I assumed it not working had something to do with government. Now to the update. For this Valentine's Day weekend, my fiance and I drove up here to my grandpa's vacation home in Lake Champlain for a few days of relaxing, hot cocoa, chill, and Netflix. Yesterday, my friends, who I will call Chantel and Kate, called me to say that Karen came back and knocking on Kate's door, demanding that we let Karen back into our friend group and support her, as well as demanding to speak with me and Luna. Luna is a friend in our group. This time, Karen came along with her mom, son, stepdad, and 2 stepbrothers who decided to drive up all the way from Mississippi for this. It seems like everyone, like her family hates her so much that they will stop at nothing to dump her on someone else.
Take her.
Please.
How long after? This is after college.
Yes.
The
She has a
fiance
kid.
is 31.
Yeah.
How old is OP at this point?
27?
So there's like years since college.
Yeah.
And this
She's
woman
still
and her
showing up.
family is still demanding friendship.
Shocking.
Years later.
Yeah.
And financial support.
Yeah. I from a person that was never really friends with Karen. Chantel and Kate told Karen that we don't want anything to do with her, as well as mentioning that Luna, who was in Europe at the time, and I, in Lake Champlain, were away and not in town. They got into an argument with Karen and her family, with Karen's mom apparently calling Kate Kamala in a mocking tone. Note that Kate is mixed race, as her mom is black and her dad being white. Yeah, so the whole family is just
Jeez.
with Karen's mom telling them that since we were friends with Ruth, we, for some reason, need to do what she, Karen's mom, says and need to support Karen and her child. Chantel told Karen's mom that just because it was easy for her to manipulate and boss around Ruth doesn't mean she gets to do the same with us, as we have nothing to do with Karen or her family. Additionally, she went on to say that if Karen is really so desperate for support, why doesn't Karen just move back to Mississippi with her family? With Karen replying by saying something along the lines of, I deserve to live the way you all live. And Karen's mom mentioning that her husband, Karen's stepdad, doesn't want Karen or her kid living with them. When Karen's stepbrother, upon noticing security cameras in Kate's house, started trying to rip out her doorbell camera, followed by Karen and her family running off when Kate's dad finally called 911.
Yeah, now they're just destroying property.
Truly. Oh my God. However, before they left, they used their truck to deliberately sideswipe Kate's dad's Lexus, driving into the garage door and Karen shouting, "People like you, Kate, don't deserve to live in a nice house like this," as they drove away. Can we send her to jail? Do you have like footage of this? Because you have, presumably he didn't succeed in pulling out the Ring camera.
Well, I think the footage they're having is like the camera here, and he's like, the Ring, like that'd be a great video.
But I mean, sometimes Ring cameras are like you can see like a driveway or something. So maybe you have footage of this. That's insane. Given the gravity of the situation, I did notify my parents of what happened and that Karen and her family may try to come over to our house, as well as warning Luna as well. I also called the police back in my hometown on the non-emergency line of the incident at Kate's home, and that they, Karen's family, may try to come over again to my home, but thankfully they haven't done so yet. In turn, Kate and Chantel have also given statements to the police as well, and you guys can give us your full attention by listening to full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app and search up OK Storytime. And there is just a teensy bit left to the story left, but I feel like we've
I feel like we've crossed to the
we've-
restraining
yeah,
order.
I feel like we know what we
zone
need.
Decision. Of
Yeah, it's get a restraining order on people who shouldn't be in your life, shouldn't have been in your life. Just get them out, and we're gonna get into the rest of the story. Note: no real names were used in the story, and certain small details were changed a little just for the sake of the privacy of everyone involved. Additional info to clarify: Luna is not my fiance. Luna is a friend in our group who I barely mention, as she doesn't really play a part in any of this. But that is the end of that story. Man, oh man, I think it's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, restraining order.
Restraining order. Don't talk to them ever again.
Yeah.
And then we have it.